Marco.
Well, it's another night of racing, and welcome back to the iRacing Stock Car Association Buttkicker Cup Series. This time, we got set to go racing for the longest points race we're going to be seeing on the 2022 calendar. Welcome to the AutoZone 300 from America's home for motorsports at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. My name is Nola Rempel. I've got Alfonso Nixon beside me in the broadcast booth. Also going to be doing double duty tonight occasionally will be Brian Britt. He'll also be working primarily on cameras for tonight's race as well, filling in for Rob Melnick. So while we enter tonight's race, 200 laps getting set to ahead of us here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. That should be a pretty fun one.
Absolutely, Nolan. And I'm telling you, there's three things that we're going to actually have to keep here tonight. Got to keep it off the wall, got to keep it in the draft, got to keep it out of trouble. If the drivers can do that, then maybe they'll just be able to come and talk to us three in the broadcast booth later on this evening.
It's going to be a very, very challenging race for a lot of drivers tonight. Some of them already have experience with the ISCA 600 that was hosted just about a week ago, where we had 400 laps around the same venue. So to the guys that were doing that event, that very long event, should just be a walk in the park. Talking about championship standings entering today, it is still pretty tight, all things considered. Matt DeCiani and Josh Schaffner are just 26 points separated coming into tonight's race. Matt DeCiani and Schaffner, obviously both of these drivers are very much in this session, and Al, they are only separated by 2 qualifying spots at the moment, so it could get to be a pretty tight points battle, especially as we close into that season finale next week.
Yeah, then, you know, if Josh Schaffner and Matt are going to do anything that they've done so far in this season, that's going to be, they're going to put on a good show here tonight, Nolan.
Yeah, guys, definitely excited about this one tonight. Sorry I haven't been talking quite as much, but I'm excited, Nolan. This is going to be a good one, Big Al. Going to be good to have us all three up here in the booth tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Going to be a very fun show for us all to be up here together. The Three Musketeers just chilling out in the broadcast booth, calling NASCAR races. Not exactly like the Musketeers of old, are we?
I mean, that's exactly how I'd like to spend my Thursday night, is hanging out with some of my best buddies and calling a race, you know, acting like a fan here and kind of controlling the cameras here too, which is going to be a little bit difficult, so everyone bear with me. But I'm telling you what, this is going to be a good race. I think we got a good show in store for us here.
Yeah,
go ahead, Al.
I'm just glad you didn't call us the Three Stooges, Nolan.
I think that would be more appropriate, though, wouldn't it? Well, out of the 22 drivers we're expecting to have time set for us, only 14 have set time so far on the boards, which will mean there's going to be about 8 or so that are going to be having to start this race from the tail end of the field. Qualifying is complete. We'll take a quick step away, and we'll be back then in just a few moments. But for now, it is time for that national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
The nighttime is the right time. Remember what I told all my drivers? Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time. Drivers, start your engines!
So started on pole position for tonight's AutoZone 300 will be Jeff Barnes with Mark Sanchez beside him on the front row, separated by only about 13 thousandths of a second. Brandon Pasalacqua and Matthew DiCiani have set identical lap times to put themselves third and fourth place. Just 3 thou back is going to be Al Kozlowski to round out the top 5. Josh Schofter is beside him in 6th. Andrew Grisbaum is 7th. Mark Padgett is 8th. Jeffrey Souza's 9th. And Joseph Lester, new driver entering the series, will round out 10th place, Al.
And that's going to put Wayne Grassi in 11th with Kenny Powell beside him in 12th. Also going to put James Oxford and John Mullins in 13th and 14th. Next for 15th and 16th is going to be Greg Wachinski and Chris D. Johnson. 17th is going to be Paul Osen. 18th, Greg Bartlett. 19th is going to be Jason Baker. And Andrew Layton is going to be sitting in that 20th position.
And that'll just leave Randy Drumhiller and Robert Pattengill to round out tonight's field for 22 cars for a total of 200 laps around this beautiful Charlotte Motor Speedway. Time is just approaching 5:30 p.m. in Sim tonight, and as always, you got stages, but this time it is not the usual 2. 3 stages over the course of the night. Stage breaks will be 1 at lap 30, 1 at lap 60, but here's where the catch comes, Brian. 1 at lap 120 as well, so a 60-lap dash for between stages 2 and 3.
Yeah, going to be definitely a long race. I mean, 200 laps here, 300 miles, 7 sets of tires going to be in the pits. Fuel window around 65 laps. Kind of interesting to see how that third stage is going to go, just considering, going from 60 to 120.
Should be an interesting race at that. Pace car is getting set to roll out with your field of 22 cars strong. And Al, I'm going to come to you first with this one. Entering tonight's race, it might be a bit early considering it's bound to be a long night, but do you have any favorites you might have to at least be on top by the end of stage 1 here?
Yep, the pace car. I do believe at the end of stage 1, the pace car will be in the lead. No, Nolan, this is Charlotte. So, like I said, before, it's the 3 things you got to do. They got to keep the car out of the wall, they got to keep it in the draft, and they got to stay out of trouble. So if they can do that through these first 3 stages, because this is a very long race, then I'll talk to you there at the end of stage 3, and I'll let you know who I think is going to pull it off here at the end of this thing.
And Brian, what about you?
Not really sure what to expect here. I mean, kind of already seen some racing here at Charlotte in the truck, but this car is much different. I do believe downforce is going to be definitely a key here as we're on the backstretch soon to get racing here, as Jeffrey Barnes is going to lead the field to green. And I think one thing about Charlotte, though, I think that is very important. Qualifying position is going to be important, but it does not dictate how their race pace is going to be. I think a lot of these guys are probably going to be using some try to have a long run setup.
I would expect nothing less considering this is the longest points-paying race that the ISCA comes across on their calendar. But for now, the pace car is down at the end of pit road. Jeff Barnes will remain in control of your field. Mark Sanchez beside him on the outside line as it's time to go racing here from North Carolina.
Still side by side, Mark Sanchez and Jeff Barnes. We have seen some success up on the top side in the truck. I'm not sure what we're going to see here in this next-gen car, though, as it looks like the top lane definitely not performing in the beginning here is Brandon Pasalacqua already challenging for the lead.
Yeah, interesting that Barnes decided to go ahead and jump up in that high line. Maybe he just didn't want to be out front and want the pressure. As him and Keselowski are going to touch paint just a little bit there, Nolan.
Al Kozlowski getting a bit physical with Jeff Barnes through turn numbers 3 and 4. The 88 car looked like he got a little bit tight, just drifted up into that Pepsi Chevrolet. He's managed to keep it steady. It is Pasalacqua to lead the opening lap from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Deeper in the field, Fanny now 2, almost 3 wide. You see drivers scrapping it out left, right, and center as they're still side by side for that second place, Brian, coming around through 3 and 4.
Yeah, big fighting going on right now. As Al Kozlowski looked like he was really tight in the beginning. One I think these guys are going to have an opportunity for. We say it time and time again. These first couple stages are going to act as glorified practices to get these cars kind of lined up and what they need, adjustment-wise. So maybe we'll see some guys make those adjustments, and they will have a little bit more of an opportunity, just considering, we do have 3, an extra stage here.
Yeah, that's as they're coming into the turn here. It's very interesting to see that my man Joseph Lester is actually defending that 7th place position pretty good. And just behind him, you'll see that Josh Schaffner is going to be challenged a little bit by Wayne Grossi. But guys, this is just going really great here as we go through 4 laps here in this 200-lap event.
Of course, Joseph Lester making his first ever start in the ISCA, so we'll see what Lester will be able to make as he continues to try to hang on to that 7th place, with Josh Ovner just chomping at the bit right behind him. In front of him, though, you've got Jeffrey Souza as well as Andrew Grisbaum going side by side, and in front of them, you're looking at DeCiani and your pole sitter, Jeff Barnes, who has slowly started to drop through this field. DeCiani moves up into 3rd place. He is trying, remember, to extend on his points lead. Oh, trouble behind. 2, 3 cars involved. Chris Johnson was one of the first ones to get sent around in the number 48. In fact, he was the one to start it off, though. That actually went to Jason Baker, who went hard into the outside wall. He collected Chris Johnson, and Randy Drumhiller was just left with nowhere to go.
Not what anybody wanted to see so early in this stage. And guys, that's going to have huge implications on the entire field, because now guys are going to be interrupted in the middle trying to collect that fuel and tire data. But just an unfortunate turn of events.
Yeah, even the second contact, we saw Jason Baker, went head first into the outside wall. Huge contact, and then Randy Drumhiller comes in there and hits him again. Man, that was a chaotic accident right there, fellas.
Yeah, Drumhiller couldn't see anything, was just completely unsighted with all of that, and that is why he plowed into the stopped Jason Baker. Now, of course, Chris Johnson was kind of in a bad situation. He was just wrong place, wrong time, and he got clipped at the absolute last second. You see him bobble once. That's what caused him to move down. The second he clipped that transitioning, that thing hooked a hard right into the outside wall. There he clipped Johnson, and there was the hit to Randy Drumhiller.
Yeah, that was a huge accident right there, fellas. I don't think that car's not going to be handling right for the rest of the night. That's for sure. As man,
Jason Baker's car definitely looking like it's seen its better days, guys. So early on here in stage 1, you guys thinking that was going to be the case, or were you guys maybe projecting that it maybe would have been a lot longer before we actually ended up having our caution?
So first caution out on the night on just we're only on the 7th lap out of 200, and already we seem to be 3 cars down, though Drumhiller, I believe, is just getting damage fixed. He's going to make an effort to get back out there on the racetrack, but not exactly the start that we were hoping for or wanting to see in the start of the AutoZone 300, but there is a very long race ahead of us, so who knows, maybe we'll be able to get something working for us a little bit deeper on in the event tonight.
Yeah, 100%, guys. A lot of these guys, as Big Al always says, you have to make it to the end of this thing. You have to be available, and I think a lot of these guys, maybe that's why Jeff Barnes fell back, felt like he wanted to be available at the end of this thing. Brandon Pasalacqua, though, as dominant as ever, looking really good right there in that really clean ISCA looking machine. And guys, why don't we take a quick step away and come right back?
Your car is everything. Your taxi, your moving van, your baby. And for over 30 years, AutoZone has had the parts you can count on to keep it going. But parts are just part of what we do. We're part buddy, part mentor, part of the American way of doing things. So whether you're Mr. DIY or a master mechanic, AutoZone has your back. Parts are just part of what we do.
Get in the zone.
AutoZone.
Lights still on aboard the iRacing pace car as we continue to steadily work our way around the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Tell you what, it's been an eventful start to this race, and I think sometimes a lot of these drivers, they just need a little bit of a kick to the pants to realize, hey, it's a long race. Might not need to, throw it, or throw such aggressive moves early on. But hey, at least this first track didn't really start for somebody making it 3 wide in one of these corners, right? So at the end of the day, it could have been a lot worse to get our first caution.
Yeah,
yeah.
Sorry, and speaking of no, it's okay. But speaking of that first caution, guys, I just want to say this, but looks like we've got Chris D. Johnson and Jason D. Baker both already withdrawn from the competition.
I have to say, I'm not really surprised to hear that one. I mean, they both took some of the hardest hits in that whole wreck. So Chris Johnson obviously out of the race, and I think it was safe to say Jason Baker was going to be out due to that very, very massive impact. So already down 3 in this race. That leaves, well, actually down 2. Drumheller is out on the racetrack, so I guess technically that would then leave, I think, 18 still on the racetrack.
Yeah, I think you're correct there, Nolan. And if that first hit didn't do it, that second one definitely ended his day here. As Brandon Pasalacqua going to control the restart here. The pace car lights are out, and we're getting ready to go back racing here. But you are right. I mean, it wasn't really a 3-wide incident. It was kind of just a guy lost it all by himself. But that just shows you how on edge these cars are. And one thing about it we kind of haven't talked about, is this it's going to change quite a bit as this race goes on. The temperature, it's a long race, 300 miles. I mean, there's going to be a lot of changing out here.
Everybody's stacked up, doubled up. We're ready to go back racing. In the race lead, Brandon Pasalacqua, he started 3rd place. Al Kozlowski beside him started 5th. DeCiani was up 1 into 3rd. And that leaves Jeff Barnes, who is one of the first drivers to lose positions. He's lost 3 after started on pole. He's down in 4th. Pace car is going to be coming on down, and then this time by, leave it in the hands of the ISCA Chevrolet. We're back to green.
Yeah, Pascalawala is wasting no time getting that car up and going, guys, as he's want to get that 23 Chevy out in the clean air. Al Kozlowski's going to tuck her right in behind him and try to figure out what he's got to do to get that Speedway Angels Chevrolet of his up to race pace as well.
Yeah, a lot of side-by-side battling going on right now. You see Josh Schaffner right now side-by-side with the 1. Or actually, I do believe that is actually Joseph Lester. He has the 1 on there, but that is a little confusing. But he is actually the 95. As he falls back into the clutches of Wayne Grossi. Grossi's always a threat at tracks like this, wouldn't you say, Nolan?
I would certainly say so. Wayne Grossi is one of those drivers that has the ability to kind of be a bit of a sleeper agent almost. He just kind of comes right out of left field before you even realize what's happening. You saw Jeff Barnes get real squirrely through turn 2. They're thinking about 3 wide into 3. Schaffner decides to take better effort. Oh, look up behind! 1 car into the outside wall. Kenny Powell is collected. And it looks like Joseph Lester decided to pull the plug before he could cause a proper accident, but unfortunately did collect a couple of drivers with the ensuing netcode that followed.
Huge damage on Kenny Powell's front end. Man, he turned that thing into a modified. Unfortunate, as he's still having some problems here down on the apron. No caution for that.
Yeah, just unfortunate for that 2-4 camp. If anything, Kenny Powell definitely was going to need to get a strong finish here tonight. But Josh Schaffner having nowhere to go in that situation. It just seemed that cars were checking up, trying to find which way they were going to go. It's hard to drive these things, guys, once you only got 5 or 6 laps on those tires through that cycle.
You see Andrew Layton just losing the spot here to John Mullins. That's back here in 12th place. I'm telling you what, Brandon Basilacqua doing a great job pulling away. He's now got 4/10 on Al Kozlowski. Matt DeCiani trying to chase him down, actually under fire from Jeffrey Souza, fighting for third right now, fellas.
Souza starting to do battle for that third position on the racetrack, trying to keep the likes of Matt DeCiani behind. He is checking up others, though, in the ensuing battle, including Grisbaum, Schaffner, Grossi, and Barnes, all in the fight between third and 8th place at the moment. Wayne Grossi just made up that pass on Jeff Barnes for the 7th position as Grisbaum is starting to close in on DeCiani. Souza started to actually pull away. Schaffner looks like he wants to break into the top 5 as well.
Interesting to see that this field is actually starting to spread out, even though we are only halfway through this first stage. Looks like these drivers are actually going to take the better of it and try to just go for track position. As Schaffner now tries to find himself on the inside line there, battling against with Wayne Grossi tucking up right behind him.
Yeah, Josh Schaffner looking really strong right now. I mean, what a move he just pulled there. Barely was even clear with Matt DeCiani, but you see Andrew Grisbaum, Wayne Grossi all right there waiting for anybody to make a mistake. That's one of these tracks. This is one of these tracks where you make a little slip up and you could be sacrificing a whole lot of positions. You got a lot of guys lined up there, single file, wanting to make something happen as DeCiani trying to hold up on the top. Andrew Grisbaum was one of the fastest in practice. I expect to see maybe he might have some success here tonight.
He's shown some good pace so far tonight, but the night is still very young. We're not even 1/10 of the way through tonight's proceedings, but we are over halfway through stage number 1. It will be 13 laps to go in this opening stage, this time by at the line. So stage 1 going by in a hurry, but remember, you still got stage breaks at 60 and 120 as well. So there is a long way to go yet before we are finished with tonight's race. And what a lot of the pace that we're seeing right now might change once that sun starts to dip below the horizon. As DeCiani makes the move on Schaffner, that'll be for 4th.
Yeah, Schaffner definitely having his hands full as DeCiani now going to go ahead and try to get his car on the inside. Schaffner has probably got his car set up for the long run, but you know, he's just trying to make it as wide as he possibly can as the other drivers are going to stack up behind him. So I'm interested to see how this battle for 4th place is going to play out.
Yeah, huge fighting going on right now here, side by side with Wayne Grossi and Mark Pageant. Pageant's one of those guys, you know, he's kind of like the closer himself. You know, he kind of just comes out of nowhere and, you know, does his business here, and he looks like he is ready to capitalize and moves his way up to 8th right now, trying to get 7th away from Wayne Grossi. I do believe he's going to get it. Interesting to see that he's using that top line. A lot easier to use that top line than I think it is at Texas, wouldn't you guys see? Oh, Wayne Grossi getting really loose.
Yeah, Grossi's car definitely stepping out from him there as he came around turn 4 there. So he had to throttle and pedal through that turn there as you see these guys going by that busted car, 24 car, Kenny Powell.
Busted is definitely the right term for it. I mean, but a lot of cars have been already busted. I mean, you know, we got Kenny Powell. He's 2 laps down, or actually 3 laps down right now. Greg Wachinski, he's 6 laps down. Of course, Joseph Lester and Jason Baker out of the race cars. And also Chris Johnson. Paul Olson still, I do believe, trying to make some laps down here. He is 14 laps down.
Yes, he is. So already 14 down for Paul Olson. He came into this race late, only actually joined the racing surface just 6 laps ago. He was not collected in that first incident. Also a driver in a similar boat is actually the likes of Greg Wachinski, who also entered tonight's race a little bit behind the gun. So he had a few drivers that kind of missed the call. But the point is, they're back in the race now. It's going to be a long night. So there is the serious and honestly real potential, especially for Greg Wachinski. Oh, look out. Kenny Powell has just blown his motor. The 24 car with all that front-end damage. We knew it was only a matter of time. But sure enough, he's blown the engine. That's a tight move. Get down to the inside, and it's caused a wreck. John Mullins into the outside wall. Caution's out again.
That is definitely not what Powell wanted to do. That's just unfortunate for that 64 car. John Mullins is he just kind of got caught up in that. Guys know where to go. This is going to be a very early in for his night as well as Kitty Powell's.
Yeah, I think Kenny Powell did a pretty good job of trying to get out of the way there, but I think Greg Wachinski might even help John Mullins into that outside wall. So big accident there. A lot of front ends missing here tonight, that's for sure.
It was a good thought. I'll say that much from Kenny Powell. But I can tell you what happened right now. We'll take a look at this one here. Kenny Powell at the last second moves down. Watch John Mullins. He's going to twitch out here because he thinks that Powell is going to cut into him. So watch this here. This is kind of coming off of turn number 4 here, but you're going to see in turn 1. He's going to twitch, and that's going to get him loose. And Wachinski is just going to finish the job. And it's not at all what you want to see, but, well, let's take a look. This video will show it all. Right there. There was the twitch and into the wall.
Yeah, I think he was reacting to Kenny Powell. Even though Kenny Powell was off the racing surface, I think Mullins was prepared for him not to be, and that's what caused him to get loose like that, and, that twitch like you mentioned.
Very interesting, though, guys, because here we are with some 6 laps remaining or 5 laps left to go in the stage, and now the caution comes out. So what do? Do you actually stay out or do you actually come on in? If you're actually jockeying for those precious point positions that you're going to get to the end of the stage, I guess drivers won't have much of a choice but to stay out. But it looks like we have quite a few takers on pit road.
Quite a few drivers wanting to make that trip into pit road, likely get themselves set up for the end of the stage. Brandon Pasalacqua, I believe, among those to stay out. And in fact, there were a few drivers that stayed out. A lot of the guys that came down to pit were drivers a bit further down the order. So Drumhiller, Bartlett, Wachinski, Oxford, guys like that were into pit road. Souza and Barnes were also in.
Yeah, Souza was actually closer to the front. Yeah, Souza was actually a little bit closer to the front. So that was kind of a big call for him, sacrificing that track position. I think this might be for some stage points. You get those new tires versus everyone else. Could be a good call.
Five laps to go in this stage, though. It's going to take about that long to get those tires up to operating temperature, both for the old tires as well as the cold tires. So it's going to be interesting to see. I just don't think it's going to be easy to make those passes as the majority of this field, at least through the top 8, staying out there and not coming in there, guys.
So lights still on with the safety car. I think Drumhiller got the lucky dog that last time by. I would assume so at the very least. But it's a tough call. I mean, I have to say, I think that's got to be one of the toughest incidents we have seen all race long. I mean, that is not at all what you wanted to see. Already we're on our second caution with at least 3 more left to go. So at this point, we're going to get at least 5 cautions on the night. I just hope that we're going to be able to have drivers left at the end of this race. We can actually continue to have a good fight when that sun goes down, because that's when the track's going to get real racy.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. I mean, when the sun goes down, I mean, it's going to get even a little bit hotter in a way. I mean, not hot, the temperature on the track, but I mean, the ability for these guys to try to compete with one another. I think the real game, though, is going to be trying to keep up with the changing track, trying to adjust that race car to be able to keep up with that. What are you guys thinking? And what would you, if you were in these guys' situation, what would some adjustments you would make?
I wouldn't even know where to begin. I'm not a mechanic by any stretch of the means. I don't know how setups work. My general rule of thumb is if I'm touching it, I'm making it worse.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, so no doubt some of these drivers are probably going to be asking them maybe adjust air pressure or a couple, maybe take a little rounds out of the rear end. That's what I would be imagining, but it's still early on. I don't think you've collected enough data to really make any changes effectively on the car. I think right now, because the sun is still where it was pretty much when we started this thing, drivers just going to have to drive through it and figure it out, at least for the time being.
Yeah, I definitely think this is going to take a lot of improv skills, being able to grow and adapt as this race goes on. curious, how is the long run going to be? I mean, did we see a lot of tire wear there, guys? I mean, I wasn't really able to see.
I think the long run is going to be a factor here because these guys are actually going to go from taking almost a half of a run to a full run, and then they're going to have to exhaust those fumes on it once they get into that third stage. So, yeah, guys definitely going to be wanting to figure out how that car is going to be handling, although it might handle a little bit different as the sun continues to set here. Looks like we're doubled up, guys. Lights are out on the pace car. Think we're going to try to give it another go at this thing and go green flag racing here once again.
Pace car coming around through 3 and 4. Passalacqua now with the race lead still. Al Kozlowski on his outside. Then it's Schaffner, Grisbaum, DeCiani. We're down and in. 4 laps left to go. Early launch from Passalacqua, but we're back to green.
Yeah, definitely a huge launch there from Passalacqua. And, because we're going green here close to the end of this stage, I mean, I don't think it's going to quell some of the action out here. I think it's going to be pretty intense here as Mark Pageant trying to make something happen on Andrew Grisbaum. Looks like he's going to get clear of him. Josh Schaffner now up into the top 3. G&G going to be fighting amongst themselves here as Josh going to try to tango with Al Kozlowski.
Yeah, Kozlowski's going to do everything he can, though, to try to make sure he can get that 88 car and maintain that second place position or at least stay on the podium. But remember, guys, if he does let Schaffner go, generally what we've seen is that's when that gauntlet goes as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two's battle is going to affect the cars behind them as Passalacqua continues to lead us through here with 2 to go in the stage.
Yeah, soon to be 2 laps to go here is Al Kozlowski trying to battle back on Josh Schaffner, but the top line looking a lot stronger than it did in the beginning.
It sure is. But it's going to be a close race for that second place for now. Kozlowski pushing up, almost gets into Schaffner. Pit road is closed. It'll be 1 lap to go in stage number 1. This next time by Passalacqua out in front by a country mile.
Yeah, he definitely is out in front by quite a big margin. I think with this next-gen car, that we've seen it, I think we've been learning a lot about this next-gen car. When you get that clean air, you can't beat it. And I think Passalacqua is going to want to try to keep this and hold on to it with both hands. He don't want to let it get away from him, that clean air.
Yeah, that might be the case, but Schaffner definitely trying to do everything he can to solidify his position. The person who has their hands full right now, though, is going to be Al Kozlowski, as Mark Pageant is definitely trying to make that Caterpillar Chevrolet get on the podium. Kozlowski on the inside. Pageant, though, high, going to definitely make that work for it. Looks like they were battling all the way through the end, but Pageant now looks like he's going to secure that end.
Yes, he will. Stage number 1 is officially in the books, and Passalacqua is the winner. We'll take a quick step away. We'll be back with more in just a few.
Buttkicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA 20.
Pit stops are complete. Passalaqua, first one down and first one out as well. And speaking of Brandon Passalaqua, we got your stage 1 winner dialed up. Well, Brandon, you won that race from a different zip code. How you feeling after stage 1?
I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm glad the car actually loosened up during the race here compared to practice, which I was worried about. The car was tight in practice, but it's loosened up a lot here, so excited about that and hoping the car runs well the rest of the night here.
It's going to be a long night, though, and certainly it's going to be even different once that sun starts to dip below the horizon when we get towards the final 40 or so laps in this race. Do you already have any plans for adjustments you're going to have to make with this car by then?
Yeah, I think the car might get a little bit too loose as it gets later outside and the track temperatures come down. So maybe putting some air in the right front might be an adjustment we make later on in the race. And if we get a late race restart, just jack the air pressures up and see what we got.
Before I let you go then here, Brandon, anybody you'd like to shout out before we move you back down and let you get to strategizing?
Yeah, no, just a shout out to the men and women that allow us the opportunity to be free every day and to enjoy things like this. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't be able to do what we do every day. So just a huge shout out to the men and women that serve for our country, and couldn't appreciate them more.
And thank you, Brandon, for taking the time to join us here tonight. Congratulations on a stage 1 win, and well, hopefully you'll be getting that stage 2 win before long.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Have fun up there.
So that was your stage 1 winner of the night, Brandon Passalaqua. He was the first driver to enter pit road. He will be starting 4th place, though, as James Oxford, Jeff Barnes, and Jeffrey Souza all stayed out because they pitted under the latest caution right before the stage break.
Yeah, definitely an interesting decision there from Jeffrey Souza. I mean, this is going to be could be good for Souza, though. I mean, I think he's got a good amount of pace, and Brandon Passalaqua, this is not going to be good for him because he's not going to have that clean air anymore. And this could be an opportunity for a man like Josh Schaffner or Mark Pageant. Those guys have shown a lot of pace here so far tonight.
Yeah, I think Souza, though, definitely made the best decision that he could have made, deciding to pit earlier under that caution of some 3 laps before this stage ended. Now he's got a chance to get that Souza Media Ford out there in that clean air, guys, and see if he can benefit from it and maybe even lead this entire stage through, because once we've seen race after race, it is definitely hard to pass that lead car. Lights are out on the pace car, indicating we will be going green flag racing shortly.
And I like to look at James Oxford there. You guys can see that he was one that stayed out. He has some front end damage, guys. What do you think? You think that's going to affect him?
Well, who knows? It could be a bit of an interesting run. We'll have to see what this will mean for James Oxford in particular, but we've seen in the past front-end damage can very much hurt these guys, so we'll see what that'll do for him a little bit deeper in the run, as, like you said, lights are out aboard the pace car.
Now it's going to be interesting to see just how long Souza waits before he actually gets that car in the win. We saw that what happened under the last caution there with Pasquale. He didn't waste any time, guys, getting that car going. So it'd be interesting to see if Souza is actually going to lay back and wait, or if he's actually going to pounce and go as soon as he gets the opportunity to enter in that green-white relaunch zone.
Yeah, definitely interested to see what Passalaqua can do. I mean, I think he's been doing pretty well so far, but I mean, if anybody's able to get underneath and make that pass happen on these newer tires, we also got to talk about, what kind of adjustments, have these guys made? I mean, have they made any at all? Were they happy with their cars? Here's pace car down pit road. Jeffrey Souza going to have the field in hands, and Jeff Barnes almost went before Souza did there.
Yeah, looks like Barnes did get a little bit of a launch, but he did actually think better of it, and it almost seemed like it was transparent as now we get ready to go. Souza now got his Ford out there in the front with that 79 car coming in real close behind him.
So back to green flag racing. Jeffrey Souza out in front and trying to stay there. Jeff Barnes sliding a little bit further back, though, trying to hang on as Oxford gets a little bit sideways out of turn number 4. We're on the front straightaway, though. We're back to green flag racing. Oh, that's a pinch! And there it is. Jeff Jeff Barnes going around into turn one. Backed up into traffic into the outside wall. Oh, and now Kozlowski gets collected as well. Oxford's in it, and, well, that's caution number 4.
That was a big accident.
What we wanted to see happen, but it looked like Barnes and Oxford just fighting for that same piece of real estate, not wanting to give. Early on, though, interesting to see why they were like battling so hard, but those two just ran right into each other. Unfortunately, that actually caused a huge calamity. Al Koslowski getting caught up in the mix. That wreck right there took out at least 3 or 4 contenders, and it was up front, guys. That was up front.
Yeah, for sure. That was a huge accident there. Unfortunate for Al Kozlowski. I mean, there was nothing he really could do. It almost looked like these guys were going to go off the racing surface, but they came right back on like a bunch of cannonballs.
Yeah, I think what actually happened was once that 3-2 car actually made contact with that outside wall, he just never was able to get his car back in full control, thus later causing him to have a little bit of contact with that 79 car of Oxford. Just unfortunate, not the way these guys wanted to end their evenings. Going to have them riding around here for a long time with beat up cars, guys.
Taking a ride on board with one of the drivers collected in this mess. Wayne Grossi, you see, just got around that, and nowhere for the 88 of Al Kozlowski to go. Almost certain that's going to end Kozlowski's night, as that was a huge hit into the wall.
Hey, Nolan, let's just be glad that we were not hot Mike to Kozlowski, because I'm sure that he was not thinking Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Made that unfortunate contact.
Man, and you even saw, he got right by Jeff Barnes, narrowly missed him himself, and it just to have that other, factor kind of come in there and just wreck him. Man, that was quite a chaotic wreck, and this has been definitely, I'd say, a night of attrition, as only 14 people remain on the lead lap, and Al Kozlowski probably not longed for the lead lap much longer.
Yeah, that's just sad for Al Kozlowski, because his car, he did have a very fast car. That Speedway Angels car was all the way up as high as second place, guys. So Kozlowski is a very strong runner here at Charlotte. I think this being one of his favorite races next to Vegas. So to have him go out so soon, I think that's just unfortunate. You know what I think, guys? I think if we could just start seeing these guys that hit their head on the wall the hardest, maybe we should talk to some of those guys.
I don't know if we really want to. They definitely might have some choice words. That's for sure. Maybe we'll let them calm down, and we might get talk to them.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we'll wait till they come back from the infield care center. But it's just so many good cars have actually been taken out of this thing so prematurely. It's accident avoidance 101. That's what you got to do here at Charlotte, guys. And the sun's not even started to set yet.
Yeah, most certainly has not. So, while the sun has somewhat started to set, it's just not started to set as well as long as some of these drivers might like. So we'll see what this will mean for the field. I guess as the race continues to get deeper and deeper into its 200-lap span, as we are still lights on aboard the safety car. Souza still leads from Patchett. Passalacqua has made his way up to third, though.
Yeah, that he has. He's made his way up to third. I mean, Mark Pageant, I think he's the big winner, considering, he was also on the newer tires along with Passalacqua, and he was able to make that pass happen and, got that track position. He's going to be starting on the top. I mean, if he can fire off well up there, he could maybe be able to challenge Souza and lock Passalacqua into the dirty air.
Possibility is certainly there. We are, of course, having our second stage break at lap 60. That is going to be 20 laps from this next time through at the line. And at the moment, I honestly, if we could go green, I would think Passalacqua would be dead set on going back-to-back stage wins. And with how much of a gap you built up over just that opening stage, I think he would have an easy time getting by both Souza and Patchett to go after that second stage win tonight.
Well, I think you might be onto something there. Just want to give a shout out though to those drivers that are no longer with us on the racetrack. Looks like we're gonna have Paul Olsen at 43. Not sure if he's still rolling, but if he is, he's some 13 laps down. John Mullins off the racetrack, 19 laps down. Kenny Powell gone, 21 laps down. Joseph Lester went out very early on, so some 29 laps down. Jason Baker also left very early on. Now he's shown some 34 laps down. And Chris D. Johnson, our first withdrawal from this race, now being shown some 36 laps down. So, guys, as that candle continues to burn, it's just finding itself to get shorter and shorter. And I hope that some of these guys can figure out the way around this track because we're going to have a little bit more than 12 cars on our lead lap if we're going to try to make this thing exciting.
One interesting thing I've noticed, of course, we mentioned before they have 65 laps on fuel here at Charlotte. I assume that means that they are not at their usual 75% gas tank here. It's the pace car down pit road. Fuel going to be in the hands, once again, of Jeffrey Souza. And it looks like he's going to get a good start there.
A good start for Jeffrey Souza. Pasalacqua trying to get the jump, and he's up to second already from Mark Padgett.
Yeah, what a start there from Brandon Pasalacqua. I mean, man, I thought Mark Padgett had a distinct advantage there, but apparently not. I mean, maybe we just got caught sleeping a little bit there. One thing we're probably going to see a lot of here tonight, though, guys, as these tires start to get worn out, is some wheel spin on these restarts.
Well, I think one thing that we're going to have to see is some patience. So I think those spotters and those crew chiefs are telling those guys, look here, guys. I mean, what are we doing? We're not even, 50 laps, not a quarter away into this thing. We have got to settle down, make some good decisions, and even get these tires up to operating temp.
You see a bit further behind, Matthew DiCiani trying to make his way up past the likes of Andrew Layton with Andrew Grisbaum right in front of them as well. So DiCiani on the move, trying to move further and further up throughout this race as he continues to try to charge his way back towards the front of this field. Remember, only 26 points separating him and Josh Schaffner entering this race. Schaffner is in front of DiCiani right now. If DiCiani wants to hold on to that points lead, he needs to have as many cars between himself and Schaffner as possible, with Schaffner being the one further behind.
Especially speaking of moving, Pasquale moving himself on up back to the lead as he just made easy work of Mr. Souza there, and now he is back in the first place position.
Yeah, great job there from Pasalacqua. We saw it on the screen, him able to get by Jeffrey Souza. So I think the tire wear is definitely something these guys are going to have to deal with here. But, I mean, looking at Pasalacqua, I mean, his last lap, that was the fastest lap of the race, I do believe, for him. And I think it actually was the fastest lap of the race. He's the only man that has hit a sub-30-second lap, fellas.
And I think that's because that temperature, the track is definitely starting to get cooler. And his car seems to be loose and fast as he is now in the lead. And I think he's just definitely going to gobble up that clean air, guys, that fresh air up front. And I don't think anybody's going to be able to catch him for a while.
Seeing a lot of handling conditions coming out of Greg Bartlett. He is having some major problems here. Now Mark Sanchez is going to try to pass him. This is for the 9th place position.
Yes, it is. So 9th place starting to heat up, it would seem, as well. Greg Bartlett trying to stay out in front of Mark Sanchez in the battle for 9th place. These are for the last points paying positions for stage number 2. We're already going to be about a quarter of the way through this race here this time by, and well, not quite this time by, but it'll be a couple laps from now. So 2 laps before we end up, 3 laps. Reading my lap counter wrong. It's been a long day for me. But you see Josh Schaffner trying to close up to the likes of Jeffrey Souza. Pasalacqua, as I predicted, though, into the race lead as he was a couple of laps prior, and now already started to pull out a significant gap.
Yeah, Schaffner starting to put a lot of pressure here on Jeffrey Souza. Of course, Schaffner is on newer tires than Souza. Of course, Souza's actually on 25 lap-old tires right now. Josh Schaffner 16 laps on those tires. So I think that's a big difference. I mean, 9 laps difference. I mean, I think it's quite substantial here at Charlotte.
Yeah, it is, but drivers are gonna have to make those tires come into play, Brian, because you have got, if you can't run fast on old tires here, you're not gonna be in contention to win this thing. You're gonna have to actually be able to stretch that tire session out to that fuel window in order to be in contention, because we're not gonna have many cautions because we don't have many cars left.
You're quite right. We've already only got 12 cars on the lead lap, and I think actually that is about all the cars we've got on track. Well, actually, we got 14, 15 cars now out on the racetrack, but only 12 on the lead lap. Then you've got Greg Wyszynski, who's 4 laps down. Paul Olson is out there, but he is 13 laps down. And Al Kozlowski just re-entered the racetrack. He is 11 laps down. So we've already lost almost half of our field. And we just now hit a quarter of the way deep.
Well, looking at the damage on the front end of Al Kozlowski, looks a lot like what Kenny Powell had to suffer through. Would not be surprised if we see that machine blow up.
Yeah, that's just a bag of popcorn right there, Brian. And somebody just put it in the microwave. He's got about 3 minutes before that thing goes pop. But, you know, the thing about it is these drivers are almost not going to want to see that stage caution come out here in some 8 laps, because once you start to get a rhythm going, it seems like the worst thing ever to happen is you got to stop, go cold, you know, and then start all over again.
We just saw Mark Sanchez here make the pass on Greg Bartlett. He is now up into, I do believe, 9th place.
And in fact, he has. So Greg Bartlett has fallen back to 10th. Sanchez is into 9th. You see Schaffner once again trying to run down Souza for that 2nd place, but it's going to be a tough run at the moment for that Plymouth Chevrolet to work his way up in front. Jeffrey Souza's been doing a good job keeping that Mustang out in the 2nd position, but if he wants to go for a race win tonight, I think he's going to need to find something else under that car, because clearly whatever he's got now, it is not helping him run down Pasalacqua with the gap that he's starting to build.
Yeah, but Souza still is doing an excellent job managing his equipment, just considering he's 9 laps older tires. I mean, he's looking pretty good. Oh, some big wiggling there on the exit there from Souza.
The one driver that I'm watching right now is Josh Schaffner, because Schaffner tends to be his own worst enemy. So either he's really good or he's kind of off. So I'm hoping tonight that he's going to be really good, because right now that 5-0 Plenish car, it's clean, and he's in 3rd place, guys. He has actually been in the podium he was on a podium for the 1st stage. So it looks like he is almost going to be securing that position again, as we're 5 to go before stage 2 is over.
Yeah, I'm keeping my eye on Mark Padgett. He's looking like he's got a lot of speed. We just kind of missed it. I saw a little hints of it on the screen here. Al Kozlowski has blown that engine. We saw him down on the, I do believe, on that AstroTurf on the front stretch. So unfortunate to see that for him.
Hey, can somebody go get that bag of popcorn out of the microwave?
I think it might be a little burnt.
I hate to say it, but I can say I was very surprised. I mean, we saw Kenny Powell running out there with identical damage to that. We saw how long he lasted. At least this time, though, Kozlowski wasn't in the middle of traffic when it happened.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And you know, Kenny Powell didn't. You know, that wasn't on purpose or anything. He tried his best to get out of the way, and it was just a bad reaction there from John Mullins, not realizing that he was going to get out of the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not as easy to guide these beasts, though, once they're up to operating speed. You know, you're going about 180 miles an hour, and you're trying to tell this car, okay, don't hit him, don't hit him, don't hit him. You know, what actually happens.
Yeah, and I think once you, have that loose condition, it's so hard to save that machine. I mean, just, trying to make those course corrections when you think, you might have some problems can lead to more problems than what you were originally trying to avoid.
Looks like we got a car running through the grass there. I think that might have been Wayne Grassi. I'm not real sure. Was that Grassi in the Grassy?
I do believe it was. And so the 7 falling back quite a bit. Now in 10th right now, as Greg Bartlett was even able to get by him.
So we are now closing in on the end of this second stage on the night. Pit road is closed. And we are now 2 laps. Well, actually, technically more, 1.5 laps left to go as the second stage coming to a close at the end of lap number 60. Passalaqua out by 1.5 seconds with no one even close to running them down.
You know, it's really interesting about this, too. I mean, we're getting ready to have the longest run of the night if we can stay green. I mean, we talk about, this stage ending on lap 60. The next stage ends on lap 120. So, I mean, that is going to be a 60-lap run. I mean, that's going to be pushing even the fuel tank to its limits almost.
Yeah, that's going to definitely be a full run. And not only to couple with that, you're going to have the sun setting, the lights are going to come on. So drivers are going to have to make those adjustments now. Once they get at the end of this stage, is going to carry them through to that next stage. So start thinking about in your mind, like what does that look like as far as air pressure, whatever. Josh Schaffner, though, now looks like he's definitely going to be able to battle and keep that Plenty Chevrolet in that third place and be on the podium here so far. Might be able to keep Paget off, but Paget right now still battling there on him, but I think that's going to do it.
Stage number 2 is concluded with Brandon Passalaqua going back-to-back. He has gotten now 20 bonus points for himself on the night. We'll take one more step away, and we'll be back with Stage 3 in just a few moments.
Your car is everything. Your taxi, your moving van, your baby. And for over 30 years, AutoZone has had the parts you can count on to keep it going. But parts are just part of what we do. We're part buddy, part mentor, part of the American way of doing things. So whether you're Mr. DIY or a master mechanic, AutoZone has your back. Parts are just part of what we do.
Get in the zone.
AutoZone.
Pit stops underway. Once again, Passalaqua first in, first out as the race off pit road commences. We already went through the stage 1 winner with Brandon Passalaqua, so why don't this time we talk to our third place finisher, Josh Schaffner, who is standing by with none other than Alfonso Dixon.
Hey, Josh, this is Big Guy up in the booth. You got me?
I got you, Al. How's it going?
Hey, man, it's going pretty good for me up here. Definitely looking like you got your car dialed in as you have been on the podium through the first 2 stages. What adjustments did you make, if any, and how you think the track conditions are going to change here going into this third stage?
Yeah, I'm no changes yet. The track's definitely going through a cycle as the sun's going down. We've cooled off quite a bit from the green flag, I think probably 6-7 degrees. So yeah, car's been pretty balanced. Kind of depends on traffic. Kind of when I got behind Jeffrey there, that run, I just maybe worked a little bit tight. Just in dirty air there and just couldn't get cleared. But no, Brandon's got a fast car. There's some good cars up here. I think a few more guys will probably start working their way up. I think Matt's got a good car back there too. But I think a lot of people displaying their cards here, shaking down the car, and really just worried about that last stage.
Definitely looked like you had your hands full here going on into the first 2 stages. But as we get ready to go into this third and longest stage, going to have to make a full 60-lap run. What are you anticipating?
Yeah, pit strategy will be a key here. We'll have to pit. It's probably just going to be a split in half. If it was a little bit longer stage, we'd probably, maybe run a little bit long. I think it'd be an advantage, but with the length of this, we could run about 48 laps green, but I think we'll probably split this in half will be our strategy, and we'll see how it shakes out.
All right, Roger that. Before I let you go, so you can get back to doing what you do best, anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I got to thank you guys up in the booth, ISCA, Buttkicker, G&G Racing, Pioneer Seeds, Plenish, Smith Farms, those guys. And got to thank Brandon, too. Did a little bit of work on the set, and appreciate his help. Our cars are pretty similar tonight, and hopefully we can get a 1-2 finish here before it's all said and done.
Well, Roger that. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. And remember, corn makes whiskey. Good luck to you. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to you here a little bit later on.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
So that was third place finisher in stage number 2, Josh Schaffner from Gas and Go. So Passalacqua, Schaffner, well, Al, and I meant Brian. Do you reckon we'll be getting a third different driver to talk to by the time we get to the end of this third stage here in 60 laps or so?
Definitely could be. I mean, I'm interested, though, to see what Jeffrey Souza is going to be able to do on a little bit of fresher tires. I mean, he did an excellent job holding off Josh Schaffner the year before here. Pace car lights are out, and I'm excited to get back racing. This has been a good one so far. I mean, still not sure who's going to win this thing, but right now I do got to say the best car has got to be Brandon Passalacqua. But, I mean, as Schaffner mentioned, this track is going to change quite a bit by the end of this thing. And, is his car still going to be the best by then? That's a question we have yet to answer.
Lights are out aboard the iRacing safety car. Presently, I believe we have 13 drivers left out on the racing surface. Passalacqua still leads from Souza, from Schaffner, from Paget, from Grisbaum. Their top 5 lined up, ready to go, as is everybody else in behind them. It's not going to be another 30-lap stage. This one will be a little bit longer. And with the fuel runs still being about 65 laps, we still will not be seeing pit stops until that fourth and final stage of the night under green flag conditions. Pace cars in. We're back underway. Great jump from the top 2. Souza caught napping on the restart as a back to green.
Yeah, I think that might be why Josh Schaffner said, hey, put me back in that Discord, because I think maybe him and Passalacqua were talking, as now we got side by side with Souza and Mark Paget. Paget going to be able to get that third position away.
Yeah, so now it's going to be interesting to see if these drivers are actually going to go all out here, because remember, guys, not only you got to make it the run on this leg for tires, for fuel, you don't want to wear your tires out. The guys that are in the back could have an advantage because they get to play lay in wait, kind of just follow, stay in the draft. Remember those 3 keeps that I gave you. You want to keep it off the wall, keep it in the draft, keep it out of trouble. So that's exactly the name of the game here for this stage, as you see these drivers wasting no time getting single foul.
Yeah, I think they're going for the long run here. I think a lot of these guys realize, this is the longest run of the night so far. 55 laps from that green flag. So it's going to be quite a, I think unknown territory. Hopefully some of the guys have done their due diligence and then put in the time in to see that, make sure that long run is going to be, that their car will handle on that long run.
Yeah, because what we've noticed before in the past is there are 2 different setups. Some guys do have their cars set up so that they do run faster in that short run. But if your car is set up and dialed in for that long run, this is your stage. This is the opportunity because, the track is in that transition, and that loose car is that fast car. If you can just get her in there where you want her and just throw her into the turns, I mean, this is where you can actually start to come alive.
Onto the back straightaway, DeCiani has been starting to close up to the back end of the Purina Mustang. A little bit of a twitch that time for DeCiani, though. Going to check him up right into the clutches of Andrew Layton and Wayne Grossi. So it almost ended in disaster as DeCiani twitched. It only takes one of those little twitches, as we've seen time and time again, to take out a whole host of drivers. But looks like we are still going to be smooth sailing. Under 200 miles, just under 200 miles actually, left to go in the AutoZone 300 as we continue to advance our way through stage number 3, of which there's only 50 laps remaining. Remember, 60 laps on this third stage as opposed to the 30 laps that the first 2 stages were.
Yeah, this is going to be exciting. I mean, one thing about these cars that I think that we've definitely been learning is that they do twitch quite a bit, a lot more than that Gen 6 or any of the other ones. I feel like, you know, once that twitch happens, it's hard to catch that machine. I mean, I'd like to maybe even take a cockpit camera here and see what these guys are dealing with. Who do you guys think we should take a cockpit camera for?
But DeCion has been looking pretty volatile lately. I would love to see what's going on in the cockpit of that elite number 1. And we'll get a good eye on this one coming around through turns 1 and 2. And watch this be the one corner where he actually manages to gather everything up. But even here, you can see how he's kind of seesawing back and forth on that wheel, just making constant corrections to keep that thing going in the straight line. That is what every driver in this field is doing. It is not exclusive to the number 1 car. And this is what it looks like when it's calm and he has everything under control.
Yeah, I think we picked the wrong time to watch him. I mean, I think if we had seen him during that little twitch there, but you can see, I think what this really takes is about smooth inputs. You have to be as smooth as you possibly can, because one wrong move could send you flying into the wall. As Matt DeCiani doing a great job. But I feel like the dirty air is what's really holding these guys back in a lot of ways. It really takes away the handling.
You're absolutely right, Brian. That's the reason why these drivers have to risk so much in order to get up onto the front end on the pit road, because track position is everything, especially at a track like Charlotte. And we've seen what happens to guys that have gone from the front to the back and find themselves in that dirty air. Like right now, that 23 car is finding himself in that clean air, and he is definitely got that thing dialed in and on the rail.
Pasalak was already pulled out 1.2 seconds over everybody else in this field, who are still dicing it out amongst themselves. You really do have Pasalakwa, and then just about everybody else really in this field, at least everybody that's on the lead lap, back to about 9th place or so. Then you got the likes of Mark Sanchez a bit deeper down in the field as well. So you've got a good chunk of the drivers left just kind of tucked together in the 2nd through 9th place battle. Everybody else is really just running all by themselves, and the closest bunch in this grouping seems to constantly be DeCiani all the way through Grossi.
You know, that it does. We see Andrew Grisbaum right there. He's in 5th place trying to hold on. He's definitely had a fast ride here tonight. We'll have to wait and see if that holds on as DeCiani. You know, we know him. I mean, he's one of the great drivers in this series. I mean, I do believe he's not our points leader, is he, guys?
DeCiani is our points leader entering tonight's race by just 26, though, so not by much.
He's definitely going to look to extend that, that's for sure.
Now, unfortunately, he hasn't really gotten off to the best of starts, though. He's been behind Schaffner all night long. Schaffner has been very, very consistently in the top 3 realistically all night long, and he, in fact, has logged away a 3rd place finish in this 3rd stage and a 2nd place in stage 2. DeCiani's only managed to muster a 6th and a 7th place finish. That already means that already, before even halfway, Schaffner's reeled in that points gap by about like 6-7 points here. So already DeCiani's on the back foot.
Yeah, but Schaffner just has to stay out of his own way. Now, Josh runs very strong all the time, but sometimes if he's off, you know, he can actually be his own worst enemy. So a lot of racing to go. Hopefully he can keep that 5-0 Farmers machine clean.
Starting to see a little bit of fighting here as I do believe Wayne Grossi and Andrew Layton is starting to battle it out. Also, Matt DeCiani trying to make something happen on Andrew Grisbaum, and that is for the 4th place position.
Yeah, Grisbaum's definitely going to get kind of pushed up to the outside. It'd be interesting to see if he can actually keep that 78 Ford up to pace, because he's not going to want to let DeCiani go by, because I'm going to tell you what happens. If DeCiani goes by, DeCiani hard on the brakes there, that's going to put himself back up to the top. Guys, that could have been the big one.
Oh, yeah, he lost a ton of momentum right there. Man, I wish we were in the cockpit camera right then. So he's riding right along the wall up here. He's going to lose a lot of positions based on that move there. I think
Yeah, Leighton's definitely going to take advantage of that and go ahead and get up front. Now she comes right back down and closes the door on Wayne Grossi. Grossi just having his hands full tonight, not being able to catch any breaks. It's like he's trick or treating on not Halloween.
DeCiani up to the top shelf, trying to see if he can set up a run on Wayne Grossi, but has to lift instead. So any momentum he might have gathered up just shattered in a heartbeat. I think Wayne Grossi will be able to battle it out properly here with Andrew Layton in that 84 Monster Energy Chevrolet as DeCiani continues to battle it out as well. So is Wayne Grossi, who's still trying to hang on to that 7th place. Well, in the 7th car. Funny that.
Yeah, that is quite humorous. But you can see Grossi had a big wiggle there for a second there, allowed DeCiani to be able to catch back up a little bit here. But Grossi's probably got that in his memory that Andrew Layton threw that block on him. I mean, he definitely closed the door, as Big Al said.
Yeah, Grossi, though, definitely that camp's got to be happy with his performance here tonight. You guys are right, he is dialed in 7th place. If he could just bring that thing home and keep it in the top 10 or potentially make it up to a top 5, I think that was definitely going to be a whole big old plate of biscuits.
Passalacqua has now extended his lead to 2 seconds over the rest of the field, and that is only continuing to expand. So I think it's safe to say that that 23 car is going to be the car to beat, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, gentlemen. I don't think anybody's got anything for Passalacqua, not with how dominant he's been all night long so far.
No, I agree totally. I mean, right now he has got the best car all night so far, but, you know, we mentioned it before, the track is probably going to be continuously changing here. Can he keep that up? You know, does he have those adjustments, that sticky note to tell him what he needs to do whenever, whenever that time does come when the track starts cooling off? I mean, is that car going to still handle like that later in this race? And we're only 85 into this thing right now.
Yeah, speaking of only being 85 laps into this, DeCiani brings that number 1 Chevy down on to pit road. So not sure what's going on with the Elite Performance Industries 1 Chevy. Don't know if this is a scheduled stop as they are. Looks like they're taking 4 tires and fuel. So, interesting play there, guys.
I'm going to see if I can figure out when his last pit stop was. Remember, fuel window is roughly 65 laps, give or take. You'd think that would be enough for him to make it on all the way through stage 3.
Jeffrey Souza also has that number 1 for Souza Media car on pit road now as he's taking 4 tires and fuel.
Well, that is interesting. What is going on?
Well, it is interesting because when we interviewed Schaffner, he said that they were going to actually stop halfway through this stage to go ahead and get tires. So I think that's what it looks like we're seeing here, guys. Looks like drivers are going ahead and mixing it up on the pit strategy, taking advantage of that full 7 sets of tires that they have.
Yeah, no kidding, because DeCiani's only been on this latest stint for 22 laps. I mean, that really is even more puzzling because you'd think he would have just ran out the stage like it looks like Passalacqua's going to do. But hey, I mean, drivers like to mix it up a little bit. And I can tell you from experience, Jeffrey Souza, if you ever want to see a strategy that's a bit unorthodox and off the walls, Souza's going to be the guy to look at for it.
Side by side right now, Andrew Layton and Wayne Grossi. These guys have been battling it out quite a bit. I mean, they almost have magnets to one another. I think they're going to be racing for the rest of this race here. But that is such a puzzling thing there. I mean, I just don't understand why you would. Oh, there goes Mark Pageant down pit road, along with Josh Schaffner and Brandon Passalacqua.
I wonder if maybe our fuel window or our fuel estimates have been off. That's the only explanation I could think.
I think it's tires, guys.
Maybe they're worried about their tires blowing or something. Could be. I don't know.
Last times the fall off, these guys are falling off. I mean, they're already running mid 31s from low 30s. So yeah, that's a huge differential there if you think about it.
I knew the tires were bad, but surely they're not so bad where you'd have to change them every 40 laps, right? Because, I mean, if that's the case, you're going to be in a world of hurt because you're going to just burn through those tire sets.
Well, surely that can't be fuel, but at least we got something to talk about. And I tell you what, I can't wait until we actually get ready to drag that next person up here so we can actually find out what is indeed going on.
You know, come to think of it, this actually reminds me, last Friday night, I was looking at another league, also a 200-lap race, same track conditions that we have here tonight, but they didn't have stages. They only had 6 sets of tires that they were allowed to use throughout the race, not the 7 that these guys are having here. And it was sort of a similar situation. A lot of guys were pitting quite frequently. We're talking every 30, 40 laps or so, but they were not taking 4 sets of tires. And in fact, that league, it's a fixed setup league, which means you cannot change anything. That doesn't really fit with these cars. They were using those pit stops to actually loosen up or tighten up the car. How they did it was, if you wanted to loosen up the car, you would take 2 right side tires. If you wanted to tighten up the car, you'd take 2 left side tires. It's a pretty ingenious way of getting around it, but so far we haven't been seeing anybody make that 2-tire call so far tonight.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. Matt DeCiani took 2 tires.
Oh, did he now?
Yeah, 9.5 in the box, and that is indicative of 2-tire stop.
Unless he just somehow managed to get the world's fastest pit crew.
Yeah, I doubt that very seriously.
He just turned on his cheat engine and put on like 9-second pit crew.
Pattingale spent 4.1 seconds in the box, so I mean I don't know what that's indicative of.
Well, I mean Pattingale, he's on 28 lap old equipment right now, so I don't know if he actually that was from the last pit stop he made. So I think he might even be on older tires than that.
So what I'm saying, that 4.2 stop, that has to be fuel.
Yeah, just fuel. Yeah, exactly. As Brandon Pasalacqua trying to work his way up to unlap himself.
Jeffrey Sousa also a 2-tire stop.
Yeah, I do believe you're right. Yeah, he was 2-tire, 10.1 in the box.
Mark Sanchez, 2-tire stop.
All right, it's time for me to figure out something else. And yeah, so far everybody that is pitted has been 2-tire stops. Nobody's taken 4.
Man, this is blowing my mind right now, fellas.
Oh, hang on. Wayne Grossi's coming into the box. I'm curious, what's Wayne Grossi's pit time going to be? Is he also going to take 2?
I don't believe I've ever seen this before in my life. This is interesting.
I mean, 2-tire stops are in general almost unheard of on
They're
iRacing
rare.
because they never work out. Even in the real world nowadays, you don't see them all that often. Right sides. So we've got at least 2. Will he take lefts or will he be off and away?
Well, Greasebomb's definitely got his hands full there as he gets past. I don't know what has happened, but that 78 car is not feeling as good as it once did. As he is definitely going to have to figure something out here pretty soon, or he will not be in the lead for long.
Grossi actually took 4, yeah. Interesting there. Some split decisions. I mean, this has become a statistics race right here, fellas.
But look at the fall off, though. The fall off in 25 laps on these tires, guys, is horrendous. You're looking at almost a second and a half in some cases.
Getting ready to be at the halfway point here as we're on lap 97, so it'll be 98. But yeah, this has been interesting, Nolan.
I'm at a little bit of a loss, to be completely frank, at this point. Like, I never thought this would be what this race would come down to. It'd be 2-tire stops or 4-tire stops. But hey, it's, well, could you really say early? I mean, we've been at it at this point for just over an hour, but we're just now hitting halfway.
Yeah, the lights aren't even on, you know.
Yeah, these guys definitely have been, I don't know, I think they've been definitely throwing us a few curveballs, that's for sure. I mean, as I do believe Brandon Pasalacqua, he is going to be in the league when this is all settled out, but I don't believe I've ever seen strategies like this. I mean, even at the Coke 600, the ISCA 600, I should say, me and Big Al, we didn't see anything like this, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's affirmative.
I like seeing drivers fiddling around, though. Like, I like them figuring out what works, what doesn't work, right? And I like to see them thinking outside the box. It makes it interesting. It makes a race that, might have been dull otherwise and pretty predictable into something where you're not quite sure what you're going to see next.
I mean, this really, truly has thrown everything into flux with, who's going to win. I mean, I have no clue. I mean, I really, my cup was full. Apparently, I need to empty it and learn something from this race here tonight.
100 laps down, 100 to go this time by. We are halfway through tonight's AutoZone 300. So 100 laps left to go in this race. And, well, guys, we just hit halfway. I was going to say Passalacqua was going to be my favorite to win, but after the pit strategies, I think I'm going to need another minute or two to think about it.
Yeah, I definitely am myself. I mean, Andrew Grisbaum, he was one of the fastest in practice. Could he get this with just strategy alone? Could those guys be wrong? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could go either way, fellas, as I do believe we still do have 19 laps remaining in this stage, though.
Andrew Layton, another two-tire stop.
Another two-tire stop, as mentioned, for Andrew Layton as we continue to get our way further and further into this race. Quick recap so far throughout the field. You got 15 cars total that are still out on the racetrack. 7 of those are on the lead lap. I believe we are waiting for just 3 of them to come on down into pit this stage, assuming they're going to at this point. Those are Andrew Grisbaum, Robert Pattengale, Randy Drumhiller. Everybody else has already made stops. Everybody from, I believe, 15th on back has retired, so that makes it now 14 cars left on the racetrack in this race. 8th through 12th are all 1 lap down. You got Wachinski 3 down, and then Olsen is 15 down.
And interesting to see this. You see Andrew Grisbaum. We're looking at the fastest laps on the screen right now. Grisbaum actually has turned the fastest lap. Well, maybe I'm wrong there, but he is one of the fastest. And looks like, I mean, he might have a good chance here tonight, guys. I mean, this could be Andrew Grisbaum's breakout night.
Well, it's interesting, though, because the fastest cars on the track are the cars that made the 4-tire stops. They are faster than any car that's made a 2-tire stop. So now we got to take that into consideration as well.
Yeah, I almost feel like we're seeing 3 different strategies play out. I mean, we're seeing guys that are staying out completely, and then we're seeing guys that are taking 2 tires, and then we're seeing guys that are taking 4. I mean, that is 3 different strategies we're seeing play out right now, guys.
And I have to say, I'm not really surprised that the cars that took 4 ended up being the fastest cars out there. I mean, at the end of the day, you're not going to be the fastest car on track by making a 2-tire stop. I wonder if it's more of a preservation thing and wanting to just conserve tires for longer. But again, we'll have to really wait until the stage break when we can actually get the chance to talk to one of these drivers out there about this. And then maybe then we'll actually see if we can figure out what the heck is actually going on out there. Because I don't think anybody knows at this point.
Well, I think I got it. I think I have it figured out. You guys ready for this?
Oh Lord.
So you actually have to run it. So what Grisbaum is doing is he is actually running his tires out. He's going to run the full stage on his tires, and he's going to collect that data at the end and possibly a stage win. The other guys, they already have decided that in order for them to be fast, they're going to have to short pit. So that's what they did. Now, some drivers have elected to take the short pit one step further and go 4 tires, where the majority have decided to go short pit with just right sides. So I think that's the solution to the stage.
Well, I'm looking at this right now, fellas, and Andrew Grisbaum, he right now is, I do believe, separated by 17 seconds from Brandon Passalacqua. Passalacqua, of course, the first man, I do believe, out there that I do believe Passalacqua might have taken 4 tires himself. Yes. 14.7 in the box. So I
took
still
4
don't
tires.
think he's not going to have enough time to catch Grisbaum. I mean, we're closing in now on 12 laps to go.
But Grisbaum's got his hands full, though, as he is, you know, the byproduct of having old tires is a car that is a handful, and that's exactly what he's having to deal with right now.
He's doing fairly well from my, looking at his lap times. I mean, he's plateaued around a 31.2. You know, we've seen 31.4s from him, but I mean, he's looking quick right now, Nolan.
He certainly is, and that is the type of pace that could prove useful later in the race as well. I mean, Pasalakwa, we mentioned him before, was already so far in front, and if the other drivers are yet to pit, Pasalakwa at the moment stands to be the net race leader. Even if we wait out until the caution, actually, that's, I guess, another good point. Do you reckon Pasalakwa and the others that have already short pit this stage are going to still be pitting under the stage break?
Yeah, that's
They're
a good
gonna have
question.
to. They're going to have to, because the majority of those guys only took 2 tires.
Ah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I am confused. I don't know. I feel like
Oh,
this
we
is
all
my
are.
first day on the job.
Well, the difference is going to be between Greasebomb and Basalakwa as far as, Greasebomb to pit road. Now, okay, now I'm going to be quiet.
Oh, wow. I think, guys, I'll be honest with you, I think the whole fuel numbers, I think they're wrong. I don't think that, I think this has got to be based on fuel. I don't see why he would be pitting right now. This does not make sense. If he was trying to go the long run and it was a 65 lap run on fuel, he would not be pitting right now.
Pattingale apparently was going to be pitting in as well, but then just came with the radio, said, I changed my mind. I want to lead a lap. So that's why he ended up staying out, but I think he's going to be pitting in either this time or next time by as well. There's less than 10 laps to go in the stage.
And Greasebomb takes fuel only. And he spins coming off of pit road.
No.
Oh, don't tell me.
He's still spinning. He's collecting it, but he is not out of the woods just yet, guys, as he is on old, cold tires. So now he's got to get that car back up to speed and nurse it around the track for 10 more laps.
He is still on the lead lap at least, though, so that's going to be good as Pattingale still stays out another lap there. But Brandon Pasalakwa making the pass for the lead. Nolan, he is going to win all 3 of these stages, it looks like.
Oh, don't forget, he did mention that he wanted to lead a lap. Pattingale's done that, and he's in the pit road with now 7 laps left to go in stage number 3. So that will cycle Pasalakwa through to the race lead, and that's going to wrap up, I guess, our first round of full green flag stops on the night.
I mean, I did not expect him to come in this stage, just considering our fuel numbers we were given, but apparently they were a little off.
Was totally not expecting to have green flag pit stops in this stage, but Schaffner even gave us a little bit of an insight on it, as he said he himself would be breaking this stage up for tires and fuel.
That is interesting.
Now Greg Wachinski is now down on pit road.
So Wachinski, you mentioned him being in the pit road, and I think that was kind of to be expected because he was already off cycle as it was, being so many laps down. DeCiani's battled it out with Wayne Grossi at the moment for 5th place on the racetrack. So we got 1 battle still left on the race course, coming to 5 laps to go this time by in stage 2.
Wayne Grossi's actually has 10-lap newer tires than Matt DeCiani, so I think he should make quick work of him. But he's having problems even trying to pass on the top. I mean, as long as DeCiani holds his line, he should be able to keep him from passing. But it looks like DeCiani actually going to let him go here.
Moves up to the high side, says you can take it. So DeCiani is now dropping back to 6th. And once again, not good news as Josh Schaffner is now 3 spots up the road. That'd be another 3 points that he'd be losing here.
Yeah, interesting there, having that difference in tires. I mean, I think that's something that's going to really play into this final run here at the end of this final stage. I mean, this is when the race truly begins. I mean, these guys are going to be doing an even longer stint. 75 laps. Of course, they're going to probably split that up. But, I mean, it still will equate to a longer run on these tires.
Definitely seeing a whole lot of different strategies going on here in stage 3. Pit road is now closed. Looks like we are just now going to be a lap, well, 118 here of 120. Stage 3 can be in the books here momentarily.
Piro will close next time by the line. Passalacqua is now coming around through turn number 4 and will now take that 2 to go. And with that, pit road will be closed for the final time tonight.
Passalacqua has done everything so right here so far tonight. I mean, all those guys that took 2 tires, I think they're feeling a little silly right now because he took 4 and he's out in front. He looks like he's going to win every single stage here. Can he win the actual race here? We still have yet to see the lights turn on here. You know, do you guys think we will see nighttime?
The lights are coming on now, Brian.
Are they?
They flicked on just a couple minutes ago.
All right. Well, still looking pretty, you know, it's getting darker, you can tell, but I think that, you know, it doesn't look quite as dark as I expected it to be. I thought we would see sunset a little bit sooner. So still, I do believe it's going to play a role here.
Yeah, but we still got a lot of racing left, Brian, as we are still some 80 laps to go before this contest is in the books. Just now wrapping up stage 3.
And it looks like Brandon Passalacqua is going to be your stage 3 winner here. Winning all 3 stages. Wow, what a job, fellas. I mean, wow. I can't wait to talk to some of these guys, though, to figure out what the problem was, why these guys were pitting like they were.
So here we go. Stage number 3 coming to a close. Andrew Layton, the last driver to cross the line. Caution will be out for our final stage break on the night. We'll take another quick step away, and we'll be back in a few.
Buttkicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Your car is everything. Your taxi, your moving van, your baby. And for over 30 years, AutoZone has had the parts you can count on to keep it going. But parts are just part of what we do. We're part buddy, part mentor, part of the American way of doing things. So whether you're Mr. DIY or a master mechanic, AutoZone has your back. Parts are just part of what we do.
Get in the zone.
AutoZone.
So we are back once again for stage number 4 now, as we get set to go racing even deeper into tonight's race. And well, some clarification on the pit stops. Turns out the fuel window was about 49 laps, not 65. I think that clears up now why everybody came down and pit under that stage.
Yeah, I feel like we were getting ready to throw in the towel here. We were like, I don't know what to expect next. I mean, you know, that went against everything I think we know. You know, guys, what do you say? Why don't we, you know, chat with one of these guys if we got the time? You think we do, guys?
I think we should be able to find some time for a couple of these guys in particular. Why don't we, well, let's take a little quick look-see through the field here. What do you guys think if we were to try to dial up? Yeah, we could try one of the guys further down to the field. We don't have to get to talk to drivers further down there.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. You know, give him a time to shine. I mean, I don't believe we've got a chance to talk to Paul Olson very often.
So all standing by and with the likes of Paul Olson now. And, well, Paul, hasn't gone quite your way, but, hey, you're still plus positions where you were over the night so far. How you feeling?
Pretty good. Yeah, I had a family emergency come up. I missed the start, but
putting down good lap times.
And now that we're starting to get racing further and further into the night, do you reckon we could have any expectations waiting for us a little further up the line, or do you think it's just going to be business as usual?
Well, for me, I'm 13 laps down, but I think it's going to come down to pit strategy in this last stage here.
That sounds fair enough. And do you have any particular strategy in mind that might help you get a little bit closer to that lead lap?
No, I'm 13 laps down. There's nothing I can do. I need 13 cautions.
Well, hopefully you'll have at least a couple of cautions to, maybe move some of the cars a little bit further down to your level.
Yeah,
and
maybe my teammate Greg can get up there. I think he's got a shot to maybe get on the lead lap.
Well, before I let you go there, Paul, anybody you'd like to shout out for that G&G 43?
Just G&G Racing got some good setups here tonight. A lot of teammates got wrecked early, so don't feel not lucky for them. But
well, hopefully you'll be having some better luck come your way than in the coming weeks. Then, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Looking forward to Saturday.
Yeah, so some bit of a casual conversation there with Paul Olsen. He mentioned 14 laps down. Ironically, in 14th place as well. It's got to be some kind of luck there.
Yeah, it takes a lot of determination, though. Really admire him for sticking it out.
So now that...
Yep, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, now that we're in that final stage, and we know that it's going to be roughly 50 laps or so on fuel, I reckon we'll be seeing guys come on down probably right around 25 to go then.
You really think so? I really think these guys are probably going to try to split it in half, to be honest with you. I mean, I think I'd say probably maybe 160. It's on 165.
All right, well, let me alter my wording then. That's the latest we'll be seeing drivers come on down.
Yeah, because, I mean, a lot of times these mile and a halves, you kind of want to split it in half, get the equal amount out of those tires.
I guess that is typically what a lot of these drivers tend to do, isn't it?
You guys think, is there a possibility that we might have another caution?
I'm not sure. We had quite a few of them in the first half of the race, but Stage 3 did go all the way green. Now, that is partially due in part to the fact that we got a significantly lower number of cars on the lead lap and on the track as a whole, but we'll see what'll happen for us in stage number 4. Green flag's back out. Souza once again caught napping as Schaffner clear with second place. Pasalacqua clear for the race lead. Pageant making the move for third on Jeffrey Souza.
Yeah, he definitely is. Pageant, always one to watch. I don't think you could ever sleep on Pageant. He is always in a position probably to win a race unless something goes wrong. And right now, he's showing exactly that right now. But Schaffner, he's going to try to, I don't know if he's made any adjustments on that race car, but I'm telling you what, everyone has, Pasalacqua has ran away from about everybody here. I think these guys were probably desperate on that last pit stop to make some huge adjustments. What do you guys think?
I'd say that checks out.
Pasalacqua, though, is definitely showing the benefit of clean air, guys, because that's where he's been for the majority of the contest. So, if Schaffner was actually able to get around him, and I think if he's going to mount a challenge for the lead, he's going to have to do that early in the stage, because once these tires go, they're kind of gone. But I would like to see what would be the difference if that 5-0 car could find himself out in the front.
Yeah, I think he's desperately going to want to try to take that clean air away. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it seems like he's on pretty good terms with Pasalacqua. I mean, he mentioned saying that hopefully they got a 1-2. Sounds like he might be, fine with second place here tonight. I mean, it's going to be a good points day, that's for sure. But, I mean, knowing a racer, if I was a true driver, I'm never happy with second.
Yeah, knowing Josh Schaffner, I don't think he would be happy with second either, Brian.
So I was just doing some minor points calculations to figure out where we sit points-wise, and this is, of course, unofficial, and it is definitely a rough estimate. But if I factor this out correctly, the gap from first to second place in the points has now shrunk from 26 points at the top of the night to just 15 entering stage number 4. And like we said, there's another 5 points between them now, which would be another 5 points, which means the way things sit right now, we're talking a 10-point difference coming into the season finale.
Oh, wow. That is something else there. I mean, you got to see Matt DeCiani. He's back there in 7th. Josh Schaffner being in 2nd place. This is a really good point state for him. I mean, the corn man is not going to be too upset here, but I'm sure he's going to want to win the race and, maybe eat some corn for us.
Yeah, he's just definitely got to keep that 5-0 car clear, because so far it looks like he's done a great job of keeping it out of the wall. But if these track conditions continuously change, drivers are going to have to be up and on that steering wheel, just waiting in case anything like that were to happen.
You see Wayne Grossi starting to catch up here to Jeffrey Souza. Could we see a pass here for 4th place? Wayne Grossi, he has been an up-and-comer. I mean, of course, he's been in this league for quite a while, but I'll tell you what, he has definitely been coming out, or definitely coming into his own, I should say.
Yeah, that's definitely an understatement, Brian. Grossi's definitely got to feel pretty good right now, having that number 7 car up into the 5th position. Like I said, if he is actually able to hold on and get a top 5 position finish here, I mean, that's a whole lot of biscuits.
Still single file for a good chunk of drivers throughout this field. Currently, we're looking at a few of the battles within the top 5, and I think that it is about all the battles we got on the track for the time being. I say that while Rob Pangill and Randy Drumhiller have been kind of going back and forth a little while too, but at least like it's starting to separate out a bit as well. So still got 11 cars on the lead lap. Randy Drumhiller is the first car 1 lap down and currently sits in the lucky dog spot. Now for Wachinski were to get back out there onto the racetrack, he would need 4 cautions as things stand.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. I mean, we saw, some yellows early in this race. Does not seem like that's going to be the case now. I mean, and those yellows, of course, probably lead to us not having as many yellows here right now, just considering, I mean, those crashes. A lot of times, here at Charlotte, you probably see someone lose it and spin out, and guys probably don't hit them. The caution comes out, it's fine. They don't, pretty tame wrecks. But these wrecks we've seen here tonight have been race enders for a lot of guys.
I think part of that is how narrow Charlotte Motor Speedway is as a whole, because you look at Charlotte and you compare it with other tracks like Kentucky, Atlanta, Texas from last week, as well as other D-shaped ovals like Las Vegas. I mean, this is one of the narrowest mile and a halves you can get out there, and it's among the fastest as well because it's got some of the highest banking. So I think all of that combined makes it very, very difficult for a lot of these drivers to be able to properly, I guess, not race with one another, but if they wreck, it makes it difficult for them to be able to properly recover it because of the high speeds and how closely packed together everything is.
Yeah, I think that it's just been very difficult to pass here tonight, and a lot of the guys suffering from that dirty air. I mean, I think we're seeing it a lot, where a lot of the guys, the closer they get to the back end of another race car, that's when the handling conditions start, and I think that's what's allowing this pack to spread out as much as it has.
Yep, single file racing definitely being a topic of discussion here in stage 4. Because, gentlemen, once we got into stage 1, we had a lot more cars and we saw a lot more side-by-side action. But as this evening has actually begun to take over and the day turns into dark, we actually are seeing a lot more single file action. Drivers are just seeming to now just trying to find their way around this track here at Charlotte.
Season finale will be coming on up next week. It'll be at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, where we will be racing for a fairly decent 160 laps. And of course, you get one off week for the Sonoma Raceway, which will be, of course, a points race for the exclusive Super Cup Series season, which has been running alongside the regular Cup Series season. And in fact, why don't we actually check in with the points? Because I just realized it's been a while since we've really talked about the Super Cup Series season, which runs in complete tandem with everything else. There are 16 playoff spots up for grabs, remember. So far, 36 drivers have made starts in that series, which is, of course, counting so far both the starts of Season 1 and 2 of the regular Cup Series season. There is a winning year in system. So far, 9 drivers have gotten wins. Those drivers are Hoffman, Schaffner, Paget, Pasalakwa, DeCiani, Kozlowski, Souza, Johnson, and Bitts. Drivers that are still within the playoff window are Wayne Grossi, Greg Wychinski, Powell, Sanchez, Drumhiller, Paul Olson, if you can believe it or not, and Corey Cook. Robert Battengill is the first driver out, and he is currently back by some margin. It looks like he is going to be about 34 points out of the current bracket, but there is still a fair bit before we actually get to proper playoff racing, which won't be until the very end. In fact, the season finale of Season 3.
Well, that's the interesting thing, Nolan. Paul Olson actually is even out of the car right now, so it looks like he has actually given up. I mean, interesting you mentioned him, but I mean, very interesting on those points, deal. Very different picture from what we're seeing in the Buttkicker Cup Series.
Well, in fact, it helps that there are playoffs, of course. I think if there weren't any playoffs, that would make it a little bit more cut and dry. But the playoffs and the winning your own system makes it a very different points outlook, right? I think if you were to just go,
We're talking about playoffs?
well, in the Super Cup Series season, of course, which, of course, runs alongside the regular Cup Series season as a different series, but in the same races, if that makes sense. If we were to talk about actual, proper points championships in that one as well, and the points rankings are actually pretty close. You take away the winning your in system, technically the top 2 would be Schaffner and Paget. They're separated by just 13 points in that series as well.
I'd like to take a look here at Brandon Pasalakwa's cockpit camera here for just a moment. I mean, looking at how he's driving this car a little bit longer in the run here, these guys are now 20 laps on these tires. And you can see he has a lot more wheel movement than I think what we've seen in a lot of other drivers. What do you guys say?
Yeah, definitely looks like he has his hands full, but it's interesting that you mentioned that the gap between Schaffner and Paget, because these two guys are actually battling right now, as Schaffner is in second and Paget is in third. If we could ride along with Jeffrey Souza, I think he definitely would be a guy that will show you what it looks like to have their hands full.
100%. I mean, he's definitely in some dirty air right now. You see very loose off the corner, but able to keep that thing going. I mean, I think in a lot of cases, these guys are on edge, so on edge that they're using that gas pedal to steer.
It's kind of how dirt racing works, isn't it? I mean, the steering wheel is more, there's a suggestion, you just use the throttle to get that thing to turn.
Yeah, I don't think anybody anticipated having to do this much drifting around the Charlotte Motor Speedway this evening, though.
Approaching the final quarter of this race, going to take a quick rundown throughout everybody so far in this field. Got Brandon Pasalakwa still leading. Josh Schaffner still holding second, but by now over 2.2 seconds back. Mark Paget is down in third. Still got Jeffrey Souza running in fourth. Wayne Grossi rounds out the top 5, plus 11 on the day for him. You've also got Andrew Risbaum in sixth. It's Matt DeCiani in seventh. Andrew Layton, the biggest mover out of anybody so far today, he's plus 12 up into 8th place. It started at 20th, not set in the qualifying lap, with Greg Bartlett in 9th. And, well, Sanchez, Al, rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, that's going to put Robert Pattengill in 11th place, and he is the last car that's going to be shown on the lead lap, with Randy Drumhiller being shown a 1 lap down in 12th. Greg Wychinski shown some 3 laps down in 13th. And that is the last car that's going to be with us on the racetrack here this evening. That's going to put Paul Olson, Jeff Barnes, Al Koslowski, James Oxford, John Mullins, Kenny Powell, Joseph Lester, Jason Baker, and Chris D. Johnson all off the race surface at this time.
A lot of drivers having some less than optimal experiences at the Charlotte Motor Speedway this week, and kind of tags in with what happened in the ISCA 600 as well, doesn't it, Brian? I mean, there were a lot of drivers that had problems early on. You ended up with just 5 cars on the racetrack by just halfway, and then, of course, there were only 2 of those that were actually on the lead lap. So it was overall a very attrition-filled race, I imagine, before the halfway point.
Yeah, I mean, but this is still, only half of that right now. So, I think, like you said, by the halfway point of the ISCA 600, there was a lot of cars that were out of that race already. We did see some very talented drivers try to tackle that monumental task, and I think this is still quite a task to try to tackle here tonight. I mean, 300 miles, that's kind of odd for ISCA. Usually we see 200 miles.
Of course, these races do run 50% the length of the Real World Cup Series races, which I believe it will be the 600 running this weekend, as it is in NIS officials as well, as a matter of fact. So a lot of drivers will no doubt be wanting to practice up for the 600-mile race that'll be taking place this weekend.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I know some other guys, I do believe, that I've spoken with recently actually took that on, I do believe, on Wednesday, the NIS. That's Andrew Grisbaum getting really loose there. Matt DeCiani going to get a good run up on the top side, and he's going to be able to make that pass look easy.
Yeah, that got a little bit of hairy there. I thought for a second we were going to get a bit of a break in the green flag race. We're about to get ourselves another caution, which I think that's about the last thing that a lot of these guys on the track are wanting right now. I think everybody's kind of in just conservation mode. They're trying to just make sure they can actually be there to probably race at the end of this thing. And I'll tell you what, I mean, it's been a fairly decent race so far. I mean, we've only had a few big crashes in the opening couple of stages, but stage 3 ran completely green, and so far so is all of stage 4 as well.
Speaking of all of stage 4, guys, it looks like we are officially in our pit window. So if the caution were to come out now, these cars would actually be able to finish this contest on the amount of fuel they have remaining. So be interesting to see now when drivers are going to elect to start coming down pit road.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting question for sure. I would assume, like I think I mentioned before, about 165, maybe 170 at the latest, in my opinion, because, I mean, you want to kind of split this thing in half. These guys are now 31 laps into this run. So I think in the next 10 or so laps, we're probably going to see some guys start to go down pit road.
Yeah, I hope you're right, but we're definitely going to find out whose car's not handling well, because I believe those guys are going to be waiting just to come down pit road as soon as they possibly can. But, this stage right here has been green the whole way, and that's just awesome because that's what the people came to see.
100%. And, if those guys do go down early, I understand, like, if your tires are just behaving poorly to where you can't even drive the car anymore and you have to go down pit road, you're going to need the best adjustments you can make there. Just considering, I mean, if you that's not going to aid the issue. I mean, if you're having problems running on the long run, what's going to change about the 45 laps we still got to go? You know what I mean?
Yeah, very good point, Brian.
Brandon Passalacqua has utterly dominated this thing, Nolan.
He's led just about every single lap that he's been running now here so far. And, I mean, he's at this point definitely led more than half the race. And I think it's safe to say he wants to lead the rest of this thing as well. I'm starting to think the only point we're not going to be seeing him leading the race is if he happens to be one of the first ones that comes down for pit stops.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, maybe to try to take away that ability for some guys to short pit him, that could be a valid strategy. But if I was that leader, I think I'd stay out just a hair longer than everyone else, just to make sure you have the newer tires longer.
It's always the mind games being played, always playing the strategy games. It's never really cut and dry, is it? There's always something going on behind the scenes that we're never quite aware of. People are talking to each other. They're talking to their teammates, in some cases talking to their crew chiefs or even other competitors just to figure out, what the heck do you want to do?
Yeah, that's definitely when that team pit strategy comes into play. But that 2-3 looks like he's just on a page of his own, guys. There's not even anybody really that's even remotely close to this guy. So if he can just make his green flag pit stop without any issues, then definitely that would be the key.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the true key to everything here. I mean, your performance on track definitely is going to be important. But, I mean, as I always kind of say, green flag pit stops are probably the most important thing.
Green
So, yeah.
flag pit stops are underway as the 14 of Jeffrey Souza and looks like the 5 of Greg Wachinski now find themselves on pit road.
And so it begins. The first drivers to pull the trigger being the 14 and the number 5. So here comes Pasalakwa, the race leader. He is not about to get short pitted. Schaffner's in, so is Paget. Everybody's starting to pit. Nobody wants to be caught out.
The 160 seems, or 159 was the lap that everyone decided they were taking that trip down. Interesting decision here. Curious if we're going to see what we saw in stage 3, though. 2 tires. Could we see some guys do that?
Everybody's taking 4. I think you got to take 4 tires at this because we saw what happened. The guys that took 2 tires were definitely not fast. They were fast, but they were nowhere near as fast as the guys that took the 4 tires. Leader took 4 tires. Josh Schaffner took 4 tires. Looks like this is a 4-tire stop as the remainder of the field seems to be coming down pit road right now.
No, I think you're definitely right on the money there. As we see, I mean, who's the best performer on pit road? It does look like Jeffrey Souza. Maybe actually Greg Bartlett, 14.2 on the pit box. That's Wayne Grossi still leading this thing. 161 laps, now 162 in to this 200 lap event.
Grossi more than likely will be coming down this time, which I think is going to end that cycle of green flag pit stops. I think he is probably one of the last drivers to have come down pit road at this point.
Yeah, Wayne Grossi and Robert Pattengale actually the last drivers out there on the old tires. 39 laps on both of those drivers' tires.
And it won't be long before we see them come in either. I can guarantee you they're just out there because they want to try to lead another lap. That's what Pattengale was talking about earlier. He just wanted to stay out, lead a lap. Well, he already got the chance to do that, but hey, lead one more. Add him onto the record while you can, right?
Yeah, that's all you can get is just bragging rights for leading a lap because unfortunately those don't pay any points here in the ISCA. But who knocks them? If you lead a lap, you lead a lap, right?
Who's really keeping count, right?
The leaders.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I'll tell you what's really interesting here right now, though, fellas. Brendan Pasalakwa, he was able to take that green flag pit stop. He now, I do believe, has quite a bit of distance in between him and Josh Schaffner. Almost 10 seconds in between those drivers. Well, I'm sorry. I've read that wrong. I think it was giving me a little bit of fits here. My telemetry was off there, so actually 2 seconds. So actually Schaffner not doing too bad on that green flag pit stop.
Still waiting on that 7 and 17 to make their way down in the end, and Andrew Grisbaum just unlapped himself from Robert Pattengale, and Wayne Grossi is kind of sitting in no man's land right now.
That he is. Still going to have to pit here now on 42-lap-old tires. And this could be a good call for him, though. I mean, we're 165 laps, 166 now in the books here, and I do believe that'll leave us with 35 remaining here. He's going to have the newest tires out of everybody, so could that pay off later, guys? I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
Oh, well, I don't know, because unfortunately right now he's losing a lot of time. So that is the flip side of that coin, if you will, Brian.
See Brandon Pasalakwa right now passing him and unlapping himself. Ooh, Wayne Grossi getting a little bit loose there, a little bit of wiggle action going on from that race car.
And you can just see the difference between those two cars, the one with the fresh tires and the one with the not, as he just pulls away.
When Grossi just made the call, he will be pitting this time by. And I have to say, I think that's a move that surprised just about nobody. So Wayne Grossi is in. Just waiting on that 17 Tucson Sound R4 Mustang to make his way down to the pit road as well. Pattengale will lead another lap, and I think this time by he's also going to be making his trip into the lane, and that will cycle Pasalakwa back through to the race lead.
I think a lot of these guys were hoping for those two were waiting on a caution to happen or something like that to come save them, but this does not look like that's in the cards.
Yeah, we've seen Al Keselowski actually make a huge leap off a situation like that, but I think he's the only one that's got that kind of luck.
Surprised Robert Pattingale staying out as long as he has been. I think he really is desperate for a caution to happen, as we see Andrew Layton coming up on him, and almost was kind of a little bit of a scary situation there as Wayne Grossi was coming up off of pit road.
Yeah, but even if the caution were to come out, the majority of the drivers would get the wave around. So I don't understand that.
And looking at it right now, I do believe everyone in the top 8 now back on the lean lap. Robert Pattingale, of course, probably going to end up being a lap down here along with Wayne Grossi. Brandon Pasalacqua trying to chase down Robert Pattingale. I mean, he's got to find someone to chase here because no one's been able to really chase him down, as even the gap has increased back to second place. Josh Schaffner right now 2.4 seconds behind.
Yeah, I think so far that's like one of the only things we're waiting on is to see Pattingale pit in this time, and then we'll really see kind of where everybody stacks up. I think Sanchez and Bartlett will still end up being on the lead lap as well. I know Pasalacqua was closing in on them, but they have not been passed by him yet. And Pattingale, I think, is going to run this tank out dry because he's got about 5 laps left on that thing, and we've got just over 30 laps to go.
Yeah, I don't even know if he has that, Nolan. He's right now 49 laps into this stint. I mean, that, from what we've gathered, the new information coming in, I think that's the limit here. Could he even run out of gas here before he gets to pit road? He slows down quite a bit here. Still looks like, yeah, he's going to be taking that trip down right now.
Yep. So sure enough, Pattingale's in the pit road. That'll cycle Pasalacqua through to the race lead.
And also, boys and girls, that confirms that Santa Claus is real.
Just under 30 laps left to go. I'm going to take one more quick step away, and we'll be back with the remainder of tonight's race in just a few moments.
Your car is everything. Your taxi, your moving van, your baby. And for over 30 years, AutoZone has had the parts you can count on to keep it going. But parts are just part of what we do. We're part buddy, part mentor, part of the American way of doing things. So whether you're Mr. DIY or a master mechanic, AutoZone has your back. Parts are just part of what we do.
Get in the zone.
AutoZone.
.24 laps left to go in the AutoZone 300. Pasalacqua has extended his lead to 3.2 seconds. It's slowing down somewhat, but I don't think it'll be closing in nearly enough for Josh Schofter to be able to overtake him for the race win.
Okay, Nolan, I'm ready.
Not at all here. And look at the damage on Andrew Grisbaum. I think we might have missed something here, fellas. There's a lot of damage on that machine now.
Nolan, I'm ready for you to ask me the question.
What question? What is he talking about?
I'm just as confused as you are.
Well, I was my prediction as far as who's going to win this thing. I'm waiting on you guys.
Oh, I see. Is it Pasalacqua?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's going to be Pasalacqua. I think right now he has the car to beat. So early you asked me that question, and I told you I would defer my option. Well, there it is, gentlemen. And as always, I think Big Al's going to be spot on this one.
Hey, you waited until you waited until you saw exactly what we were dealing with here from him. So that was a smart call, deferring that to later.
I don't like to rush to judgment there, Brian.
No, I hear that, man. It definitely looks like he has got it well in hand. As we now, I do believe, have 20 laps to go. Man, this thing is flown right on by, guys. I mean, what a race it's been. I mean, hadn't presented a lot of side-by-side battling. We've still seen a lot of, guys really trying to deal with the handling of these race cars. I think that's been really the story of the night. As I do believe we see Wayne Grossi now diving on the inside of the 78. I do believe that car received some damage that we didn't see, and it's affecting his performance right now, fellas.
Gonna check in on when exactly the damage took place, but backing it up, it looks like it came from some time ago. I think lap 172. And yeah, actually knocked the wall down out of turn 2.
That'll affect the handling of that thing, that's for sure. As you can see, Grossi now up to 6th, and Grisbaum down to 7th. And still could even lose even more positions than that. I mean, you see Andrew Layton back there, Mark Sanchez also right there too. I mean, could they even find themselves up one more position?
Yeah, not to mention the fact that Grisbaum's car is definitely turning out to be more than a handful. So it'll be interesting to see if he'll be able to keep that car from running into the wall even yet again, guys, as he continues to struggle trying to keep that car straight. Even drifting just a little bit right there coming out of turn.
Oh, wow, the yellow flag is out.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Mark Sanchez around. Oh, my goodness. This is going to change everything.
Wow. So Sanchez going around. Take a look at the replay. He lost it, and oh, he lost. Okay, so he hopped the Legends Oval, and then just lost when it hit the ground.
Oh, wow.
But, the good thing for him, he still has a whole nother set of Goodyear Eagles in there, and he did not touch anything. So minor contact on that car, so that's going to be good for him. Griesbaum's also going to love this because that's going to allow him to come down the pit road and get some much-needed TLC on that 78 Marina Ford.
Oh, wow. He just lost it on the exit there. And like you said, he literally did go right over that Legends Oval, and that lost him a lot of traction, and it was just no saving that. But he didn't hit the wall as hard as he could have, but I think he did just hit the wall out of frustration. That's for sure. I would say that's the definition of what he was showing there. This is going to change everything, though, guys. I do believe we're going to have under 15 laps to go when we go green. And everyone going to be taking that trip down pit road. You do see some guys going to be trying to get that lap back. Greg Bartlett going to be, I do believe, receiving the lucky dog.
Yeah, you're right. This is going to be the most controversial stop of the night because right now, what do? You go 4 tires, you go 2 tires. I mean, you don't need gas at this point, so just very, very interesting to see these calls. And man, come on, drivers.
I think I would definitely be taking 4 tires, and I probably would even be adding a little bit of tire pressure to them.
What about you, Nolan? You taking 4 or you taking 2?
4 all the way. No question about it.
So track position not being the thing that you gentlemen are looking for, you're actually just looking for the full run of the 16 laps.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can see 2 tires maybe being a good call. I mean, we see Souza did actually take that call. Everyone else on 4 tires. So this is going to be a desperation attempt here for Jeffrey Souza, and I don't know if it's going to pay off.
Yeah, unless I had an opportunity to put myself out front, I definitely would go for 4. But if there was not a chance to say get out third or better, then, you know, if there's a chance for third or better, I'm going with 2.
We have seen Passalacqua, though. It doesn't matter what kind of challenge you throw in front of him. It seems like he's able to still fight his way to the lead.
I know, I'm just counting on traffic.
A lot of guys going to be receiving the lap back here. I think we're going to see Randy Drumhill or Mark Sanchez getting their laps back here.
So you're going to have a lot of drivers staying out to get laps back. Those include Wachinski, Sanchez, Pattengale, and Drumhiller. I do believe this will actually mean that Robert Pattengale will actually get back on the lead lap as a whole.
Yeah, definitely going to be good for him, that's for sure. I think it's going to be good for everybody, you know, getting them new tires, except for Souza. I mean, he did, you know, get right sides, I do believe, I would assume. And I don't think it might not be necessarily the worst call to stay out, you know, or not stay out, but to get the 2 tires. I mean, I think we saw limited success with that earlier in this race, and that's something I never would expect to see at a track like Charlotte. I expect, you know, you could take 2 tires probably at a track like Michigan Auto Club, you know, Daytona, Talladega, but I just never expected that to be even a question here at Charlotte.
Well, you know, he took 2 tires, which means he is our risk it for the biscuit candidate for tonight, because that's exactly what he just did. The key is going to be for Souza, he has got to get a good launch once that pace car is off. He cannot wait and allow Pasquale to get the chance to get a launch on him, because if Pasquale does and he gets that outside advantage, he will definitely get the run on Souza. Souza's going to definitely probably have to try to stack up the field, get a launch if he wants any chance to win this thing, guys.
Lights are out aboard the pace car. 13 laps to go when we take the green flag. This is about to get kicked off into overdrive.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to have tire conservation in mind. I think this is going to be an all-out brawl. Wouldn't you say, Nolan?
Oh, yeah. You're going to have 10 cars on the lead lap. All going to be wanting to battle out for those final positions. Now, the question is, are we going to be having ourselves another caution before the night is over?
Yes, we are, and it is go time.
Wow, that's a big call there, Big Al.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's go time, baby. That's what you got going on right now. But yeah, as a result of that, yeah, I definitely will say we will have one more caution.
Especially with you know, now the top 10 all on the lead lap once again. Here we are, 3 and 4. Green flag soon to be out in the air. Jeffrey Souza. Could we see even some wheel spin from that race car? As the green flag soon to wave, Souza, is he going to jump? Schaffner pushing him to the green there. Schaffner pushed him there. Did you see that, guy? Some contact before the green.
That checked the field up, but they managed to make it back safe and sound. Souza trying to go for another ISCA victory. Passalacqua actually falling back on the restart. He's lost the momentum. Schaffner just clears himself across Mark Padgett's nose. The Triad Chevrolet trying to get up there to help out his teammate.
Also saw Andrew Layton lose it back there. Also, I think some contact with the inside wall. As he's fighting, bringing Passalacqua, gets turned into the grass.
No! Oh, Schaffner's around!
No.
That right there is the one that's probably gonna felt more about what just occurred than anything else. I think number one, we just tore up a lot of good race cars. Number two, fast car is gonna get penalized because Pasquale did actually enter pit road, so he's gonna find himself serving a black flag for that. Schaffner, his car's tore up. I don't know. I think Souza definitely is gonna be the car to beat now.
Josh Schaffner almost had that pretty well cleared here as Mark Pageant actually got into him. But yeah, that's a good point. That penalty is not going to be pleasant there for Brandon Pasalacqua. Luckily, he didn't get a lot of damage there through that. I mean, of course, you do see a little bit of some rear end damage, I do believe.
I think the biggest story here, though, is Josh Schaffner, because remember, he was just closing in on the points lead. He was exactly where he needed to be to reel that gap down to about 12 points entering the season finale. He's just been torn up in that wreck. DeCiani was in it too, but he just got a bit of a ding to the front end compared to being torn up like Schaffner was. This has just flipped the tables in the championship again.
I think somebody called that too. That big fella, what's his name?
I think it was, what was it, Ale? I think Ale something or other?
Big AI. Big AI.
Big AI.
Man, I think you're right there, Nolan. I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, Schaffner, he's not going to be handling right after that. I mean, he definitely had a top 2 car all night long, and I don't think that's the case anymore.
Now, speaking of exactly what you just said, a top 2 car, Wayne Grossi now finds himself in second place, ladies and gentlemen. That right there is your good news story of the night.
Man, this has gotten turned upside down, I tell you what. I mean, Souza now your leader, and could we see Grossi able to make something happen here? I mean, you still got Matt DeCiani. Josh Schaffner, you were talking about Josh Schaffner earlier, how he looked like he was poised to grab some points to catch up there to DeCiani. That is no longer the case, as DeCiani looking like he's got a strong chance of maybe even winning the race, Nolan.
Now, Schaffner can get some of the damage repaired under this caution, but stay on the lead lap. He is only going to lose, at the very most, as things sit, 7 points. So he is still going to be leaving this race closer than he was going in.
Mm-hmm.
But the gap is still going to be a lot larger than it would have been otherwise.
And you also got to note Matt DeCiani's got some front-end damage. Sorry, Al, go ahead.
I guess the question is going to be, is Schaffner, Schaffner's actually going to be out of pit road. So that means he has the potential to stay on the lead lap. So, Nolan, that goes to add to your point. The next question, though, is does Pasquale actually have to serve a penalty, or did he actually become a scound from that?
That's a very good point.
He looks to have escaped that from the looks of things. I'm not seeing any black flag needed to serve under his name, so it looks like Pasalacqua has managed to somehow escape the black flag there.
Lucky for him. I mean, that could have been huge, a huge detriment to him. I mean, he's dominated this race from start to almost finish, and I hate to see that. I mean, we talk about Wayne Grossi, good story of the night. I'd say Brandon Pasalacqua, definitely not the best story there tonight, but I almost feel like that was even as a result of some net code. I mean, we were looking for the far chase camera, and it seemed like maybe even some net code was prevalent there, or maybe just Pasalacqua got loose.
I know he was loose though, Brian. He got a little loose, guys, on the restart. So I don't know exactly what was the problem. Maybe that car not handling the best under cold tires or restarting conditions. But that was the first real restart that we've seen under the dark sky tonight.
That's definitely a very good point. I mean, we saw, most of the race being under somewhat some sunlight, and now it is dark. I mean, it is definitely dark out there. I'm sure that's going to definitely change the handling of these race cars here, as I do believe the pace car lights are going to go out here, Nolan.
And that would mean a 7-lap dash to end the AutoZone 300. This is going to get crazy here really, really quickly. Souza left that start really, really late last time. I think he held that about as long as he could because he's been noticing everybody's been going sooner. Figured people would be caught out, and sure enough, a good chunk of the field tried to jump it from the back and ended up having to check up big time. That gave him a bit of a gap to work with. Now, do you reckon he's going to try to do the same?
I don't know if anybody's going to be wanting to let him do that again.
I mean, Shopton was right there. He had his nose up his proverbial butt there trying to get Souza to go. But, I think Souza, that he's going to do the same thing. His tires aren't worn. He does have a fresh set of rights. So I think he is going to try to wait, let the field fall asleep, let possibly, in this case, Grossi maybe start to go and then slouch and then launch like he did on Schaffner.
Yeah, I think he's prioritizing track position. I think that's Jeffrey Souza's stance here. Nolan, you've even mentioned about how he always kind of has some strange pit strategies that somehow work out for him.
Well, I think those pit strategies with these late race cautions have kind of gone out the window at this point. In order for those strategies to work, he needs long green flag runs. He loathes cautions when he's on a pit strategy like that.
Well, here we go. Pace car soon to be dipping down pit road as they exit turn 4. Going to be excited to see how this goes here, guys.
And his car was fast, guys. That 14 Ford definitely got out front. He launched it. Let's see if he can do the same thing again, Nolan.
He's holding the field. This time, though, no push given. We're back to green flag racing. It's another jump for the Souza Media number 14.
Oh, Josh Schaffner at the outside wall.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No caution, though.
No yellow. We're going to keep this green. He waited for a bit, thought there might be one. He ran to the back of Mark Paget and just launched himself into the outside wall. So any spots Schaffner would have gained him a neutralize. He needs for there to be a caution now if he wants to make up any kind of spots throughout the rest of this race.
See Brandon Passalacqua right now challenging Wayne Grossi for second place. Looking like he definitely did not get a lot of damage out of that incident we saw earlier. Also see Matt DeCiani trying to hold off Andrew Grisbaum. And here's side by side with second place.
Yossi's definitely going to have to do everything he can to try to hold that position. And Pasquale is going to want to get around him. But Grossi right now just keeping that number 7 Pennzoil car. Oh, Pasquale now definitely going to try to run to the inside.
Oh, no!
Contact.
I think they entered each other there. That was kind of interesting. I mean, those two cars kind of became one.
I thought for sure we were going to get a caution there. That would have been the saving break for Schaffner's race. Passalacqua blocking Grossi all the way down the racetrack. Grossi's going to keep it tucked in line behind. Passalacqua, though, really playing on defense. That is allowing Souza to continue to stretch his legs up in front. Greg Bartlett loses it out of turn 4 briefly, but is able to wrangle it back.
I'm going to tell you what, Bartlett's been one that I didn't expect to have any kind of speed here tonight or any chance to do well, but he is up in 4th place. I mean, talk about a sleeper.
He's in 4th place, and he is on a charge, but another car that's going to be on the charge, that is going to be Grossi, as Pasquale is definitely making that 2-3 car very wide. Held Grossi off. Those two definitely made contact, but the person that benefited the most from that, guys, Jeffrey Souza. Now, he's got his car on a roll, and we have 3 to go.
3 laps left to go. Jeffrey Souza out in front. Josh Schaffner nowhere close to being able to make up spots. There would have to be a caution for the next 2.5 miles if we wanted to have a yellow flag to put it into this race.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see this. I mean, Souza with that interesting pit call seemed like he's got the chance to actually win this thing. I mean, Passalacqua is definitely running faster than him, about 0.2 faster to be exact. Actually, probably more like 1/10 faster. I don't think it's not enough time. I mean, 0.6 separate these guys. I mean, he's going to need to run a whole heck of a lot faster in order to be able to catch Jeffrey Souza.
Yeah,
I think Souza made the right call.
With 2 to go, though, Souza definitely has his hands full. And his problem is he cannot continue to look in that rearview mirror as that 14 Ford has been everything but loose. Pasquale has been ever so slightly closing the gap, shutting that door. Pasquale has to make this happen as the white flag should be waving soon.
That is correct. We are on the white flag here. Brandon Passalacqua closing in quite a large margin here. Can Souza hold on? This is going to be, I don't know who's going to win this race, guys.
Souza coming around through 3 and 4, this time by Passalacqua, closing in, 0.2 of a second. It's still closing. This is going to be tight at the line. Passalacqua looks high to 4. He loses it out of turn 4, and that's going to hand the win to Souza on a silver platter as he takes the AutoZone 300.
Wow. Passalacqua barely even held on the second there, considering Wayne Grossi was coming up quick. wrecks after the flag. But yeah, man, Jeffrey Souza gonna win this race. Wow.
My, oh my.
But you got to risk it for the biscuit, guys. That's the name of the game. And that's exactly what that 1-4 car was doing with his risky call. And that's exactly what Pasquale was doing. This is also interesting because this entire victory stemmed from the fact that Souza elected to take 2 tires. I think we're going to take a step away, get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Your car is everything. Your taxi, your moving van, your baby. And for over 30 years, AutoZone has had the parts you can count on to keep it going. But parts are just part of what we do. We're part buddy, part mentor, part of the American way of doing things. So whether you're Mr. DIY or a master mechanic, AutoZone has your back. Parts are just part of what we do.
Get in the zone.
AutoZone.
We are back.
Well, welcome back to the amazing race that we just had here at the AutoZone 300 for the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're going to see if we can dial up your podium finishers on tonight, and we'll kick things off with Jeffrey Souza. As you can see, winning the race by just half a second, but I imagine, Jeffrey, it was about to be a heck of a lot closer than that.
Oh yeah. I kind of took two tires earlier in the race just to see what it would do, and right there I was kind of like, hey, I got nothing to lose. Was pretty clear all night long. Brandon had pretty much everybody covered, so I thought if I get in front of him, maybe some chaos will happen behind me, and lo and behold, it did. But he still almost got back there on that last lap.
So overall, what was it like for you having a race for 200 laps and 300 miles around what is one of the longest races the ISCA has for a points race on the calendar year?
It was definitely tiring. We had worked on this set earlier this week, and I thought it was felt pretty good in where conditions we were working in, but the bumps in turn 3 were just really struggling with those. But I'm gonna run a full-length version on Saturday night in another league, so I thought might as well run tonight as well and get some experience and understand how much water and how much I need to probably take a nap before I end up running that one. So it was fun though. It was tiring but fun.
And entering the Worldwide Technology Raceway next week, do you plan on making a return there? And if so, how do you think the race might go for you?
Yeah, right now at least the plan is to race next week. Last time we were there in this league, I was pretty decent. Played some tire strategy there as well to get up front, get the track position, and then pretty much was able to stay up there in the top 5 or so most of the race. So kind of hoping that I can get there and then start up there and then try to stay up there and contend for another win. But the last few weeks have been definitely pretty fun for me.
And we'll let you go then here, Jeffrey. Anybody you'd like to shout out for that Souza Media number 14?
Yeah, I got to shout out, Souza Media, obviously, riding with us almost every week. Definitely a big help, as well as Stat Analyzer. Everybody over at Triad, Mark, Greg were in here. They were pretty fast, as well as Jeff. He had some trouble early, got in a wreck, got pretty beat up. So just everybody over there at Triad just really working hard every week in and out. And the last 2 weeks we have had, pretty fast hot rods. Still have a little bit of work that needs to be done, I think, to get a little bit more speed out of it this week. But like I said, and then everybody at the league, Kenny, and you guys that do the broadcast as well, that help put this on. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here.
Well, thank you for joining us then tonight here, Jeffrey, and well, hopefully we'll be seeing you next week then at Gateway.
10-4. Thank you, guys.
And well, with that, we're going to move on down to our second place finisher, who is going to be standing by with Alfonso Nixon.
Hey, Brandon, this is Big Al up in the booth. You got me?
Hey Al, how you doing? I got you.
Man, I tell you, tough luck there tonight. You led the first two stages, dominated this entire performance, but unfortunately, a very risky decision there for Jeffrey Souza to take two tires, put you behind him, and you just couldn't overcome. Was that track position that important here tonight?
No, I mean, not in that particular scenario. I messed up the restart there when I was on the front row. If I would have had a better restart, I would have been able to get back around him. Just it's so hard to run on two tires. I think it was a 26 lap run at that time, and although the left sides don't wear much, they still seem to lose a lot of grip after any kind of wear on them. So I just wasn't efficient enough through my shifting on that restart, and I kind of held up the guys behind me. So I'll take blame for that. But I think we had the car to get back around them there. It's just it didn't work out, and next time I just have to do better on the restart.
Yeah, definitely that 2-3 car was extremely fast. You were fast on the short run as well as the long run. So the question is, once it got dark, did you have to make any adjustments, or did it just seemed like that car was running pretty good all night for you?
Yeah, it was running really well all night. I actually ran better tonight than I did it with the 500 laps of practice that Josh Schaffner and I put in. So when we got the race conditions, we are like, damn, this car's rotating really well. And 3 and 4, that was the struggle point for everybody. But it was hooked up there on the bottom, which was phenomenal and a lot of fun to drive. And there was no adjustments needed as the night went on. The car handled better and better, could be a little bit more aggressive, and the lap times showed it. So just a great handling race car. Josh and I worked hard this week on that setup. I think that was our version 8. So it just goes to show how much work we put into it. And it was good to have a fast car tonight.
Yeah, just unfortunate you and Schaffner, looks like you both kind of made contact there late into the race. Unfortunately for him, he still ended up finishing top 10. But, it is what it is, and we're headed on to the Worldwide Technology next week. You got yourself a little bit of a situation going on in the points. So what are you thinking that you're going to need to do next week in order to make this thing official?
Yeah, that's a good question, Al. To be honest, I'm not even sure where I'm at in the points. I figured I was out of everything since I joined so late, but I've never been to that track, that we're going Worldwide Technology, so it's going to be interesting how I run there. I think I ran there a year and a half ago in like some DWR or DW12 IndyCar, so I'm going to need to put in a lot of practice laps just in general. Then we'll start looking at the setup after that. But to next week, just as with any week, it's just the goal is to have fun first and race everybody cleanly and hope for the best.
Well, you definitely put on a very impressive performance here tonight. Before we let you go, anybody like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, for sure. Congratulations to Jeff. That's racing. He made a great call to put himself in the lead, and I won a couple weeks ago where the 2 liters crashed on the last lap, and I kind of backed into that one. So I think the NASCAR gods made things even for me. And great race with Wayne there at the end. We had a little contact there on the front stretch. I hope that I think that was great racing. So I hope he believes the same thing. And then a huge shout out to Josh. Him and I worked on the setup all week, so I appreciate everything he's taught me. And then the G&G guys for allowing me to be with them. And then of course you guys in the booth, Kenny and everybody at ISCA. I appreciate you guys allowing me to join these races each week.
Roger that, and congratulations again for your second place finish, sir. Good evening.
Thank you, guys.
And with that, we're going to move on down to our third and final podium finisher of the night. And I think I'll pass this one on down to you, Brian, as you stand by with Wayne Grossi.
Mr. Wayne Grossi, I mean, looked like you almost even had a second place under your belt there for sure. I mean, you seem like you definitely have been growing ever since, we saw you, when we started in this league, man. I mean, how's that got to feel? You are earning this podium here tonight.
It feels great. You guys copy me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, I struggled with the car all night. I really love this track, but the hotter weather threw me for a loop. I had to totally change the car in practice, trying to dial it in for the hotter track. And I overshot it a little bit, and it was too loose in the race. And so I spent the whole race, like every single pit stop, adjusting on it, and then finally got it at the end there.
It definitely seemed like you definitely got it. I mean, what a run you had. I mean, up to, you were in the top 5 for a little bit there. We're fighting hard with, I know, Andrew Grisbaum at some points. I mean, fighting hard with about everybody out there on the racetrack, but you found your way up into 3rd place. I mean, man, what a job. I mean, what were some of the challenges? You said you started out a little bit loose. I mean, how did that play into as the long run progressed and also this track started to change?
Well, I was fine as long as I wasn't racing somebody hard, but as soon as I would try to go under someone, I would lose it. I would lose the back tires. So anyway, I kept changing tire pressures throughout the race and finally got a good setting at the end there where I could really get aggressive low in the corner, and felt great at the end of the race. So it was a great long run car, really, as long as I wasn't battling a lot.
Definitely seemed like it for sure, man. Well, congratulations on your 3rd place finish. How are you feeling? I do believe next week we're going to be taking a trip down to Gateway. Very different track than Charlotte, that's for sure. I mean, some would even say one of the most difficult NASCAR cars, or NASCAR tracks you can even try to race at.
I'm optimistic. I had a great car there last year. Of course, that doesn't apply to this year, but I really had it dialed in last year. Really got the hang of that track, so I'm looking forward to that.
We're looking forward to seeing what you can pull out for sure, man. And who can we shout out tonight after your 3rd place finish?
Well, I like to thank Shell Pennzoil, of course, and you guys up in the booth. I really do appreciate you guys, and Buttkicker, of course, and Kenny Powell in the league. Great league. Love it. Well, thanks to everyone.
All right. Well, we definitely appreciate your time, Wayne, and we'll hopefully we'll see you next week, man. Great job, and love the momentum you've been showing here as of late. Back to you, Nolan.
And well, with that, we are going to just about have all the time we have for one night. So we're going to wrap things up then from the Charlotte Motor Speedway and the AutoZone 300. Thank you for joining us all here tonight for more Iverson Stock Car Association Buttkicker Cup Series action. I've been Ola Rempo with Alfonso Nixon and Brian Britt beside me in the broadcast booth. Separate your 2 points leaders entering the season finale at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. We'll see you there.